then anyway, and when Grandma was with me, Sue Ann, you were such a good baby. You were in such a great schedule. There again.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, you had a good schedule.
Hey,
She came out of the room and she said, "What's the schedule?"
Can I get two parents at work and get money?
And Mom, Grandma, my mother was with us, and the thought was that Aunt Bets had offered for you to go there when it was time for Gina to be born. And my mother was so determined that you weren't going there because of all the chaos that was there.
Oh, to the haunts.
They had their own chaos.
You were coming down. She was coming down, and she came down.
Oh, thank you, Grandma.
So it wasn't bad, but she thought you were doing so beautifully. She just didn't want you, so you were in a crib in a little closet. And Gina was
in the bedroom. It was a closet for the bedroom.
And I don't know where we put
closet.
Gina whenever. So we lived there until Patty was born. Patty was still born when we lived there. And that's when we
I remember hearing the closet and the dresser drawer.
Yeah, you remember that? And no bottle or anything.
You just kind of got put somewhere so you wouldn't roll around and hurt yourself.
Well, you were in a bassinet.
Oh, right, they did have a bassinet.
Okay.
Bassinet.
Yep.
And with a drawer that had a sliding
And the door wasn't open. It was
So you didn't wake anybody up.
And you were in this, and you would go over the sliding door. We put the basket in there, bassinet with you in it, because the door was open. When they were moving, we were sitting at the dinner table, and Henry Chasey called and said, "I can get a car, or I can get a truck tonight." What?
Dick Sheridan was there in Pittsburgh then, so he'd come over right away.
This is when you moved in
Dick
here.
and Carolyn, yeah.
He lived.
Dick and Carolyn, and we get up from the table. They picked everything up. The dishes were there.
So we're in this rented truck.
It was on Thanksgiving. No, it was on St. Patrick's Day, and you were born on the 9th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we
I
know.
had bad veins in my legs. I wasn't supposed
You
to be
weren't
doing the
supposed to
steps. And Mom was there, and Mom got sick, and we put her into a house. This Henry Chasey that took her up to her house. It was cold. It was windy, and then it started snowing. But
It was smart. Yeah, it was smart.
Yeah, but there's
It was
no
smart.
steps when you got here. It was a ranch house.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Poor Dad, he got up the next. Anyhow, we moved. Carolyn came over, and she wiped out all the closets,
Wow.
and she
That's
put
what-
up the
that's-
beds in
I
the
know what
crib.
that's like to move and have somebody
Yes.
come wipe it all down for you.
Talk about friends. And so she put up the crib. You were still in the basket.
Well, then
I
you
have
were both
no
in the same
idea.
crib, maybe.
Yeah, well, you were in the basket, but that also was when we were looking for another house.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you didn't know if you
find
wanted
us.
this one.
No, we looked. Well, what they said, we're looking
For
to know
a
where
house.
we were.
For a house.
We had this other place, so we're looking for our first house. So the guy called up, "I'll show you the house." So Friday night, he called me up, and I go see him. I look around, okay, it's a pretty nice house. I said, "But hey, you go the next day and make sure, you know."
Right.
So she goes the next day, and I said, "Well, what do you think about the water tower?" She said, "What water tower?" What water tower? So you know how she was.
Well, I said
She's like
that's
a
Sue Ann and Gina. And I always said I was 10 months pregnant with another baby. Who the hell was that water tower?
So you had a night like you could walk in here, the front door, or you could pull your car down below
Oh,
into
yeah,
the
well,
garage
this
and
was
walk
gonna
in
be
the
a fancy
basement.
place for
So
us.
this was in a really like a front yard,
yeah.
a backyard.
Oh yeah, we were
Yeah.
moving up. We were moving.
Oh, a
in the-
kitchen,
Yeah. Refrigerator, maybe.
a refrigerator,
in
yeah,
three
maybe.
bedrooms.
Yeah.
3 bedrooms.
Yeah,
oh
this
my
is
goodness.
one.
4.
Yeah.
Three.
1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And so my mother, even though she was,
2
then we
bathrooms,
brought her,
up
she
and
said
down.
it was the easiest move she ever knew because there were curtains on the windows, there was carpet on the floor. We moved
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, it was ready.
Didn't have a
What?
washer dryer. Oh, the next morning.
Yeah, next morning I got up, flat tire in the car. Flat tire. Come my senior year, decided to go to St. Francis. It was a mile away, 3 miles away. Thumbed the ride most days. Walked a few times. After St. Francis, I came down to Duke for 1 year. Graduate.
Duke meaning Duquesne.
Duquesne.
It's impressive. I didn't know you started your master's.
So I went to Duquesne for a year. Left there. Went to the service. Went to 6 months, Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Did you like the service at all? Did you like that
Oh, I
kind
wouldn't
of
mind, yeah.
the training and everything?
Yeah, I really got along all right. It never got in too much trouble. The guy, once in a while, that guy would get you say, "Hey, shut that weapon up." You know, you go, I guess you're supposed to, you know, your foot's around, you can go on the side, left, front, you know, and this. I've got one time I went up, didn't get a shot, so my shoulder. I'm the group leader at this, my 6 month tour. Bob Hostler, this 6'5" guy from Crescent, they got him as a group leader, and I was just one of the squads in there.
Wow.
So my weapon's open. Shut that weapon, soldier. And that hurt because I had 12 other guys there.
Who were
I was
supposed
over
to be
top,
following
yeah.
you.
So mine was open. So anyhow, I guess that's when I knew I had some patience. Just that 6 months, and I just thought, I can't wait to get out of here. What am I doing here?
You learned how to wait 6 months. So the first time you learned how to pray was when you were going on your way to the bathroom down in the basement. And the second time you learned how to pray was when you were...
When I was in the service. Yeah, I have certain things that must have burnt my leg. I prayed again.
Yeah, a couple times you had to pray.
As we drove,
Yeah,
so you were right.
That house, yeah, we all
Yeah.
didn't buy that here.
I'm sure I had
there
it
was like
because
6
you
houses
guys are
there.
probably up front talking, and
Right.
I'm hearing.
Right.
Well, we could just be on the other side of the tunnel.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, it's funny.
Well, you
we
picked a
thought-
really good place because I felt like we had all the backyard games, we had the
Yeah.
woods.
Oh.
We could
Right.
walk up to Lincoln and that whole area. We could walk down to 88 and the Washington Junction as we got older and got
Right.
high school
Right.
jobs. You know, you really picked a
Location,
really good...
location, really.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I guess at some time that settled into my mind or our minds because we didn't move. We built
Yeah,
up.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So I think we must have decided this was. But then I remember, like all those St. Germain's people, you know, they had all those families that were over in
Yeah,
Georgetown,
yeah.
and I used to feel bad for you kids because they were there.
They were,
Yeah.
And
they were
we
the gang.
were-
You got
right,
to break
Kelly's
into
Right.
Going
We
to
couldn't go
Sam's.
after school there or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I come to the decision we must have thought
That would have
it was,
been a good place to be.
Right.
But you didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
But we didn't know. I didn't even know where it was
Oh,
when
I was
I
going to
came
say, did
here.
you belong to St. Germain's when you moved here?
No.
You probably didn't belong to that church. You
Oh,
were
no.
probably going somewhere else.
Yeah, we were in
Right.
Dormont. We were in because
Well,
because
when we
Mom-
were in Dormont, we were in Crescent.
That's right.
Every weekend we went
Right,
to Crescent.
every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every
And I
Sunday
had
you
the
went to
car-
church up in Crescent.
Yeah,
you
that's
didn't
true.
walking with your dad and
So it probably wasn't
grandpa.
until we
and
went
them.
to school,
Right.
like when you were thinking
Yeah.
of where are we going to go to school or something, that you
Right.
decided you'd join
I
a
remember
local
the
church.
first
Yeah.
time I ever went in to, they told us where the church was, and I guess I went myself because we had little ones, a lot
Right.
of little ones at the time. And I remember going in there, and truly, I thought I was in a Protestant church because the altar had been turned around, which was new.
Yeah.
That
was
wasn't-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was just new, and St. Germain's was the first church to do so many of those things for the
Not be
Yugos.
They're
Latin,
progressive, huh?
Turn
Right,
the-
turn the altar.
About my work and college business. I went to Baltimore to work in the steel mills after high school. Stayed down there for 3 months and then come back and went to St. Francis College for 6 months. Then transferred to Penn State Center in Altoona for 1 semester. Next summer, no job in the summer. Went to Cleveland, Ohio, worked 1 year in the automobile factory, assembly line. In and out of summer. I had a drill and driver in my hand, and I put shingle covers on the hinges.
And you do the same thing over and over again.
The car comes down. The car comes down. 8 hours a day. But when we went over the weekend, we'd go to Crescent Saturday afternoon because we worked 5.5 days. So then,
Okay.
Now, then Sunday came, we'd go from our drugstore. We'd stay there, drugstore in Crescent, 12 o'clock, get in the car, drive to Cleveland, 6 o'clock out there, sleep in the car for a half hour, get on the assembly line for 9 hours.
That would be your Monday, your first day.
First day, no sleep, just 1 hour in the car, jump in. Then usually every other week they'd say, hey, Joe from West Virginia didn't show up. How about working over? So we'd work from 6 o'clock in the evening to 11. So no sleep, no. So Monday,
That was your longest day ever,
longest
was
day.
Monday,
Then go home, go to sleep, and then work
Tuesday,
9,
Wednesday.
10, 11 hours. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, we'd go to Crescent. So we only worked 5.5 hours a week.
Wow.
Or 5.5 days.
When did you?
Place.
Yeah, like where
You
was I
have
born?
this baby, and so
We were born at St. Francis Hospital. Was it St. over
Okay.
in Lawrenceville? I guess it is. Now it's now the Children's Hospital,
Oh,
and you were all born there. And
Wow.
the reason that happened because I didn't know what doctor to go to.
Right.
Aunt Bets knew this doctor that was in Pleasant Hills, and that's how I went to that doctor, and that's where he delivered his
you went to the
babies.
doctor in Pleasant Hills. You came out to Pleasant Hills from downtown.
No, just from where were we?
You were in Oakland at one point, but then you
Oakland. Well, I
Yeah, but
I
we
don't
only
know.
there for about a week or so.
Yeah, then we
Okay,
got
okay.
this. Yeah, we
Okay,
weren't
so I'm
there
saying,
for a long, long
okay,
time.
so you're in the one room. Then when did you move to? Where did you move to next?
We moved into that apartment. Let me see.
In less than a month, maybe a month at the other place.
Yeah, but when did we move from there? We moved right before you were born.
From the one room.
And it was the beginning of August, and that's what Larry was talking about.
No, we moved to this other apartment before that, and then moved
Yeah,
to
yeah.
another one.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're in downtown
You're in
Oakland.
Oakland.
And then where did you go?
And Andrew went to this, and I guess it's Dormont, Potomac Avenue that goes like this.
Okay,
up.
so you moved there from Oakland.
Okay.
Yeah.
You moved to Dormont.
Went to Dormont.
Okay.
And we were there.
About a year, maybe. 6 months. Well, no, when Sue Ann's born, so
Yeah,
we were back.
we
to the-
moved, and that's when Dad was off to the reserve, and Larry Sutton came down to help me, and that's when I was very much pregnant. That was the beginning of August. You were born the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
What did Larry say again? What were his words? He said, "Won't Uncle Butch?"
I said to him, because we were hanging, we were moving, and Larry was, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, and he was,
And you're 8 months pregnant.
yeah, 8.5.
Yeah. Well, but did he come with? He obviously didn't come by himself.
No, I don't know how he got
I think
down.
he got dropped off.
We went to
help out.
Crescent.
Oh, okay.
We went to Crescent almost every week.
Okay.
Dad was out of the picture
Yeah,
again.
right,
He was
yeah.
at reserve, and Uncle Ray Hahn, knew somebody that had a truck, Jim, whatever his name was, and we got this truck. We didn't have a lot of stuff to move, as I
Right.
said. We didn't
Right.
have a lot of stuff, so we moved. And I remember I washed all these curtains and done this stuff, and one of the last things we did was this big window. And I remember getting up on this thing and hanging these curtains, and I made a statement to Larry, won't your Uncle Bush be surprised we have all this done? I was pretty pleased we got this thing set up.
And he said,
And he said, oh, I think he'd expect us to have it done.
oh, and I said one year we got a bat from somebody. It was broke, and then we pounded it together with some nails. And then we'd use it. Next day, it break again. Pounded it. No, it didn't have any tape. We just put nails in the thing. Did So finally the bat broke, but it was about 2 or 3 weeks later. But that's how often we used that one bat somebody gave us that broke from the high school. Somebody, I don't know how we got the thing, but I'd take that thing home, bang, 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 bang. The next day, somebody, it'd finally come loose or break off again.
Right.
Fix it. So we did that thing for weeks. Oh, man. Sometimes it'd just be play something like Indian ball, they call it. You put your bat down and you roll the ball up, and if you hit the bat, you were up then.
Okay.
You didn't ever play that game?
I don't recall that. So somebody puts the bat down and then you roll it.
Well, first you're like this, and you used to pick it up and hit it.
Yeah.
And somebody's out in the outfield. If they catch the fly ball, they're up. You know.
Okay.
If they don't catch the fly ball, they can throw the ball in, try to hit the bat laying on the ground.
Oh yeah. Okay. So they're throwing the bat in to get you out if they're able to throw it in. It's a bit like I hear you saying Indian ball, but it's what they played in England and in India, and it's called cricket.
Something like okay.
So I'd love one day to write down the rules of Indian ball and compare it to the rules of cricket.
Yeah.
But they have that same thing: one person at bat, everybody out.
Well, I love basketball, so in our house there's a big old tree in the back there, and I've got a basketball Christmas, probably 6th or 7th grade, a little basketball of my own.
Oh.
So I've got a 10-gallon can of we call a paint can. Cut the bottom off the thing, pound it up to the tree, and shoot the basket at that thing.
Nice.
The basketball court was like a mile down the road at the high school. But I said, I'll make it. So I love basketball. So I put a 10-gallon can, pound it to the tree, and we had a couple big trees in the backyard. And I'd shoot around there. It was not, I don't think it made me any better, but it was entertained me for a good while.
There you
That's
go.
my start. My brother Glenn used to borrow his girlfriend's bike, and there's Maisie, Ollie, Butch, Dick. I don't know with Ray, maybe not, but get the bike. Glenn would give us the bike that Sunday, and we'd ride it all over the place, and thing, and his girlfriend. I don't know where he was, but anyhow, next week, same thing, we'd do this and that. So we were pretty mad when Glenn broke up with her. Story I had about, they called me Butch. I was in 2nd grade. Johnny Glasses always messed around in the or at the, what do you call it, outside when we had recess. So one time he was messing around out there, so the 2nd grade, Johnny, come up here. Butch, you come up here too. Punched Johnny on the arm for messing around the playground. Johnny was bad during recess, so I had to punch him on the arm when I was a puncher. They called me Butch, and I had a weapon. Punch him out.
So did the teachers all called you Butch, but the kids must have called you Butch
Yeah,
as
I was
well.
Butch then. I wasn't.
Okay.
Gene was not part of the vocabulary either. The grandparents used to get together once a month, usually, or whatever, at each other's place. And then when I was there, they would have a little bit to drink and play pinochle. More pinochle than drinking. But one night, they're going to go to the Illick house. So the grandparents of McGuire's come to the house, but as they usually do, whoever came to the house would bring the whiskey. So your grandpa had the whiskey.
Grandpa McGuire.
McGuire had the whiskey in his hand, and Grandma and he would go up our steps up at the Illicks. So they were waiting, my mother and dad were waiting there, and so I walk up the steps, and the steps are made of concrete. So lo and behold, the bag your Grandpa McGuire was holding was slipped out of his hands and bam onto the front steps and fell apart. 1/5 of the whiskey running all over the concrete down the steps. They're looking at each other. They decide we'll still play pinochle, but it was a sorry pinochle night. And our bathroom was downstairs.
Ah, see, there you go. Now you're getting to it.
Down the steps, over past the furnace, dirt floor. There's a little cement pad over there, and there was a commode. One commode in our house, downstairs.
10 kids, 2 adults, 1 toilet.
One downstairs.
Were there any windows down? Like downstairs was really downstairs.
It was down, but there was some windows in there. Not
pretty dark.
It was dark. The only thing was any kind of light was the furnaces there during the wintertime.
Oh, right. Furnace light was
It was
on.
right there, whatever. But that was where we.
He was a big guy.
He's a big guy, and he can reinforce his thing.
Right.
So he's going around the house though from 7 to 7.
Yeah.
Right.
But then when he's around, his word is.
Oh yeah,
law.
oh yeah. He was, hey, but he was a good man for it.
Did he play sports with you?
Not too often, but when we went to the like reunions, we used to go. The older uncles didn't have to get in. He'd get in and play that way. He could play some ball and that, but he was sixth grade when he went out and worked on the highway.
Wow.
He's like 12 years old, but he was like already 156. I don't know, maybe.
He's already big.
Very big guy, and he was on the farm all the time, so he was around machinery and stuff like that. So
one thing, I don't know if Swan was implying this, but you organized a lot of our. For me, you organized a lot of our sports games and bike riding and stuff, and because you were home, that like he was gone 7 to 7, your dad, and then maybe dinner. I felt like you were maybe home at 4 or 5. Mom would go out to work, do the shift work,
and we'd just continue on.
So
with
you
whatever.
Possibly on your own, but you were very hands-on, involved dad with our academics and our athletics, because you were the parent that was home during our.
Not only worked part-time, but still he was
I'm just
involved.
thinking as a father,
right.
We're definitely going to get to the mothers, but
yeah.
as a father, I feel like you, just like Papa Harris, I was saying, had to figure out some stuff on his own, maybe not by example. Mm-hmm. I feel like you had to figure out, or maybe you knew from nephews or uncles or other brothers, but you were very involved, I thought.
Yeah. Well, if your mother was away, I had to, I done say, but you guys would be. When I was playing softball, you'd be down in the creek. Remember those things? And Sue Ann was organizing. Hey, Dad's up, and you'd climb up on the bank, and there goes, come on, Dad. And I'd dribble one down the third base line or something.
Well, we were
every
very
now and then I
fortunate
hit
that
the
Sue Ann
ball.
was around for certain.
You would have missed Dad's
She
swing.
would say.
Yeah, it's a Christine would say, yeah.
Sue Ann would yell, Dad's up. You started to say you went up to Glenn's funeral, or couldn't you go?
Oh yeah, I was gonna tell the other story. So we drive up to Niagara Falls, get up there, go to the funeral home. I think in the back we're staying at Gene Cruel's place. Get a call in the morning. Grandma McGuire had a stroke or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So we packed up. We didn't come back down.
You didn't
Crescent.
stay for the funeral. You were there for the wake, but didn't stay for the funeral.
And then
Right.
come down, and then while Jack Loves was coming in, and somebody else, Paul, but your mom stayed for a couple days.
But she was in a coma or whatever. She wasn't.
Well, we came back, and unfortunately, the only car was going up to the funeral for Glenn, and we were on our way back. We passed.
We went up the day before the funeral, seeing Glenn and all the
Jack
other
and
things
Lois were.
at your
They had
place.
been they were staying at Mom and Dad's. Jack had a business call down to Washington, D.C., and their son Tim came in with him, went down there with his dad. Lois stayed with Mom and Dad. So Jack came home that day, and they were playing cards. And that's when Mom had, and then Jack Hall was the one that called us. We were up in,
Up in Niagara Falls.
yeah, I don't
Cards, but they were playing pinochle. Lois, Grandma, Jack, and Dad, they're sitting there playing. She bids 40 or 30 or something like that. They was did around. He kept bidding.
Right.
He did
30's a high bid.
He bid 42,
Oh.
44, 46, 48. The bid went up over 50 on 4-handed pinochle.
Between Grandma and Papa.
No, between
Yeah.
Jack and
Grandma
Grandma.
and Jack.
Between Jack and Grandma.
Grandma. Well, and then
Who won the bid?
Jack got the bid. He made it, but your grandma stood up. Oh, dang you, or something like
Threw the
that,
cards at them.
and went into the bathroom. Bud.
Well, and as she fell over, they heard the thump, and they got her back into the bed, and she was conscious for a little bit, and then, so it was a hemorrhage. It was a cerebral hemorrhage.
She wasn't in any pain, and she died doing what she loved to do.
Yeah.
But Lois, she felt terrible because she said, "Why was I the one that was there? You should have been there." I said, "Lois, I could not have helped." But
Oh,
she
in
thought,
terms of,
yeah,
Yeah,
being a
her-
nurse,
she's
she
a
thought I
nurse,
could
and
do
everybody
everything.
think they
Lois
thought
said,
that's
I
why.
was. Anyway, they took Mom to the hospital, and we got up and left. I don't know if we left that, not that night. We got up.
Well, the brain's
early in
pretty
morning.
important. If that goes, then.
Oh yeah. Well then, they put her. She was on it. This is one of those things. She went on a respirator until we got there.
Okay.
And Leo and Francis came down. They called them, and I think because Leo at that time he was still at work, and he had to come home from work. We didn't come home. Mary Hahn was here with you guys,
Okay.
and then Sue Ann, you were in Tionesta.
I was at Canoe Trails.
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah, 'cause you-
Well, I
the
knew
weekend.
it was Friday because I knew that something happened.
Oh, before you left even.
Yes,
Oh.
because this is my story about that. Is
Yeah.
that so on Friday? It must have happened on a Thursday, or Friday, because I was debating whether I should go to this
Yeah.
Canoe Trails weekend. It was up in Tionesta, and you said go. Nothing's going. She was stable. She was whatever.
I didn't know.
So
Yeah.
Donna Imhoff drove me up or whatever. So I had my ride. We come back Sunday, and the reason I know that I knew before I left is because we pull in the driveway. I'm getting my stuff out. Dad came out to meet me. We're all in the driveway here. And Donna says to Dad, "How is Sue Ann's grandmother?" And she had passed. And I was so mad at her because I was concerned. Like, I knew it wasn't good, right? And just like I just had a sense, and I didn't want to hear it that way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, because then you looked at me like you didn't want to tell me that way either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like she asked this question, and I was just so mad because that's not how I wanted to hear the news. And then you looked at me and said, "Well, whatever." I don't even know what you said because I already knew what you were going to say. And anyways. So that was Sunday night, and then we must have either left that night or I don't know. You were still up there, Mom. You didn't come back home, and we must have all gone up that Sunday. Must have been waiting for me to come home or something.
And also grading, Lefty and Paul were flying in, and we were meeting them at the airport.
We did.
It is hard. Like sometimes you think I feel like it should have been all about us, but of course it would be your siblings and
Yeah, it was our grandmother.
and what did Papa McGuire need,
No,
and what did all that need? But at the time, we're probably all thinking. But
you know
went
what?
there so regularly. It just felt like it was
I was very
our-
sad. I was
our-
very sad.
I was definitely feeling like it was our person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus
She's our
all-
grandmother.
Like you said, she belonged to Lefty and
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you had
But
to
I
share.
think I
her.
remember
Yeah.
going to Mass.
Yeah.
I remember it being a Sunday morning swim, but I think I might have come, I don't know, but because I remember going into Mass and Father Crom meeting me, and he looked at me, he said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "My mother just died." I remember
Were
him-
you here? I thought you were
Well,
still
maybe it
off
was the next
dressing.
week. My memory was that you stayed up
Yeah, I
there.
thought too I would have.
Yeah,
So maybe
you-
it was the next week or something you went to Mass. I think that was my
Yeah.
memory, and
It
who
could
knows
be.
what.
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't know. I
13
just-
and I was in
That
shock.
was after it
And,
was over, yeah,
Yeah.
because you were still in Crescent when.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember hearing stories of Glenn and Mick and Love Canal and that, but I didn't put together either that they had died. So I mean, it's honestly just a couple of years ago. I said with this cousin who I don't, they're always kind of 70, or we're down here late 50s. And this cousin was saying, "Oh, well, then Mom died, and I've had 3 cancers, and and she was very talkative, and she was saying she had the cancers that some of her other siblings had. Anyhow, they were all telling the story after the fact or something, but there would have been a lot of I would think, too young. Like I understand Grandma McGuire, and then we would have had Pap Illig probably died next of the grandparents.
No, he died
died first. He died in
so
76. No, my mom died in 76.
75. I was in 8th grade. And I remember that too.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
No, because this is what I remember. We came home from school, from St. Germain. We were at St. Germain's.
From Papa.
I don't know what day.
Which one are you remembering? Papa?
No, I'm Pap Illig, Grandpa Illig.
First death in the family.
We came home from school, and Dad was home.
Okay.
Early,
And I was like, ding, 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 like something, that had never happened. And you sat us all down in here, and I remember we all came in. I mean, it was traumatic. It was like my first. So I remember we all came in and plopped down in there. Dad was home. That's going off. The TV went on because we all must have always come in and turned the TV on. And so we turned the TV on. That was normal. But Dad was sitting there. And then Mom came in and turned the TV off. And we were all like,
break up our routine. You have a nerve.
And she said,
"It's a Friday. We were."
Yeah, you guys are letting off steam.
And Mom said, "I have something to tell you." And Dad was crying. And I remember I'd never seen Dad cry before.
Wow.
And again, so it's like, like I know, this is really bad. This is never,
Right.
And then you told us that, Grandpa Billy had a heart attack and died. I don't remember really after that, but I just, I remember hearing the noise,
Right.
the news.
Yeah.
And then maybe a year later, here's what you're saying, Grandma.
Why? It was 76.
And what grade were you in?
I think I was this is what I remember. I was in 8th grade for Grandpap Illig. I was in 9th grade for Grandpap McGuire and 10th grade for Larry Winkowski.
Actually, Grandma McGuire.
Grandma McGuire, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Mine well.
8th grade for Papa Billy.
Yep. 9th grade for Grandma McGuire and 10th grade for Larry Winkowski.
What part of the year did he die then? Which I can't remember. It was good weather because I remember I had to call out to the bureau and I thought, I called Ray Hahn. I didn't even know. I don't know how I got Ray's number. I didn't want to call Dad on the phone and tell him, but I wanted somebody to be with him when I would tell him.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm coming out. And I go out to get Dad, and he's walking down.
I gotta said you have. I was already walking home.
Yeah,
already.
he was walking home. He just left.
You're walking home to your
From
car,
work.
or-
Oh, because you had heard, you
I rode with somebody else that day.
and you would walk home from
I
work.
just had nothing else
started
to do
walking.
with that state.
How
after
far
the
would
news?
that
Oh,
be?
you had.
No,
You didn't know
just
the news.
a normal-
Yeah, I knew the news.
I knew the news.
And I just said, I'm going home. So I
left.
walked about a
Walked
mile
down
or so, and then next thing you know, your
I
mother
went
picked
down
me
right
up.
away then.
So had you gotten Ray Hahn to go be with him when you told
Yes. I don't know. Was Ray with you?
I don't remember Ray, but he could have been. But
I don't know, but I thought I can't just call and tell Dad if nobody. And I thought I want somebody there.
Yeah, my best solution, just get walking.
And maybe you were gone before Ray got to you. I don't know. I don't know that side of the story, but I just remember.
But you
going
got the
down.
news. Mom called you.
Yeah, I got the news from your mother. But she says Ray Hahn, I don't know.
Well, that's I don't know either. I don't. Maybe he never got to you.
But you had the thought to try to.
Oh yeah, I wanted somebody.
So then
there.
so do you mind sharing just kind of just what was going through your head or your experience of that?
No, just nothing I could tell you about what was going on in my head. That was, the loss was there, and, and you say, oh, I can't believe it. Like you. But I said, I said, I just said to myself, I don't have to stay here. I'm just. And then I didn't think of going to the phone and tell Bud I'm walking or anything. I just, hey, I'm walking.
You just left, and so maybe Ray told the rest of them out there why you left. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Dad just walked out.
Somebody
I'm sure you told your boss or somebody.
Yeah, I didn't. That was the best way to resolve it was
So
start walking.
what part of the
working and living at home with your parents.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So I was
And
there.
were you living in Creston going to school at St. Francis or?
Well, I finally got a job in Pittsburgh. I see. When I finished up with school, I went to Pittsburgh to get
So
a
you're
job.
you're at
This-
Pittsburgh first. Pop-Up's
Yeah.
at Pittsburgh
Oh
first.
yeah,
Grandma's
that's the only
still
reason
back.
I came to Pittsburgh.
I know, but what were you dating before you came to Pittsburgh? Like, where were you were spending time together and going out every now? and
Okay, I'm just saying here, her boyfriend saw. I would see her at different places because they had a little joining. Everybody would meet
He
Saturday.
was at Creston every weekend.
Yeah,
Okay.
we would run into each other and hi, whatever.
Okay.
But then she had a pretty, what do you call
Steady.
it, steady boyfriend.
Yeah.
But now they go to school. He's teaching. Next to his girlfriend, he has another girlfriend.
Yeah, that happens.
And Bud was, she went down. Anyhow, the guy, he's out of the picture now.
Right.
And I come into the picture then pretty soon. I guess I was.
So maybe the fall of
Yeah.
I don't know what year.
59 or something. Or I'm trying
But we used to go out in crowds. You got to realize this
Right.
is a small town.
Yeah,
there's a lot
I've
of
seen her
crowds,
different
and all the
times.
crowds started pairing off.
intermingling. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
getting, and so we were dating. I guess we were dating, and Jack Hall had met him again with reinforcement, and he went down to. He was in reserve, 6 months
Summer
Is
reserve.
camp.
Dad's in reserve or Jack Hall's in reserve?
I'm in the reserve for 6 months.
Okay,
I-
wow.
After I come out, I got W-2s, they call them.
Right.
Each year, after the first year of St. Francis, second year, you had to pass your grades, had to be passing grades. You get a buy for the next year. Because the Army, if I quit, on the roster for being
If you quit
drafted.
school,
If I left school,
Right.
I'll be on the roster to go serve. 'Cause I took two. You got 2 of these already. Now I'm sophomore.
Yeah.
So now he's doing 6 months,
Yeah.
and Jack Hall was traveling with his work, and he was down in Kentucky.
Well, wait a minute. Then when I come out, I'm out at St.
You're out of
Francis,
St. Francis.
but I didn't have a job yet.
Okay.
Boom, I'm on the roster to be. I went down and volunteered to go to the service to get it over with. I knew I owed
Yeah.
them 6 months,
Okay.
so I joined up there and went to Fort Knox. And that's the 6. And then that time your mother and I were dating. I guess when I'd come home, Leo Glass and this other lady, we played a lot of pinochle on the weekends.
Yeah, we
I'd come home and go back to work, and I was working in Baltimore.
Okay.
So back and forth like that. And then now, I had about 2 or 3 different girlfriends. Not.
People that you'd look up and see. If
Well,
you're,
they weren't
you're in
nothing like
Baltimore-
I had with her. Not.
Yeah, if you're in Baltimore, you'd see this person. If you're down
Yeah.
near Fort Knox, you'd
Yeah.
see a movie with this person. Grandma's meanwhile dating some people
Yeah,
in,
she's
the,
different.
like in the crowds.
Yeah. She didn't have the same date. She was
Right.
different. She didn't have a.
Right.
She didn't have a
As Mom
steady.
said, you're going out with 6 people, and sometimes you sit next to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to go have the bar room like, and then she'd be sitting there with her date, and we'd get in. We'd BS like old time, the whole group of us.
Right.
My 3 buddies, and
Right.
So we started dating seriously that summer. I think.
summer
And then,
of
59, I guess it was.
That's what I'm thinking,
59.
59.
Yeah, and then because Dad then got a job down here in Pittsburgh, and we were trying to figure out
So you've done
when.
the service.
Yes, so now we
done
know
the
we're
schooling.
gonna get married, and so when do you?
how did you propose? Did you propose?
like this.
Uncle Jab.
No, but your mother.
Yeah. I
But
remember
he
the
was-
stories of the wedding too. About what church did you get married in?
St. Francis Xavier, because
Thank you.
that's where I went to school, St. Francis Xavier, and Mom and Dad were still in that parish, yeah. And so we were married out at St. Francis Xavier with the big steps going up. It was a day similar when the sun was out this morning. I remember I said to Dad, "This was a day similar to this. It was
November 24th.
cold, but it was not snowy. It was not
Right.
It was
Which for all
summer.
the
It was-
people, siblings
yeah.
who are traveling in and stuff like that, or other people who are
Right,
coming,
yeah.
that was a
But you
beautiful,
know-
bright fall day.
Right. And it was family and friends. I mean, of course, we both had large families.
Right.
Yeah.
But all these little kids were there, nieces and nephews, and
So when you would have a wedding, you'd invite over. Everybody could go to the mass, come to St. Francis, and then would you go to something like the reunion places?
We
Where
went
did
to
you
the
go?
tea room, tea house, and we had a dinner.
Oh wow!
Just for the family and
the family, just for
Like
the
noon,
attendants.
like the mass.
Parents
Your
and
mass
the
was in the
attendants.
morning.
Yes, our mass was probably 9:00. I don't know, just for the attendants and the
Oh,
parents.
the parents
Yeah.
and the attendants.
And we
And
went
then
to
we had a reception in the afternoon.
That's what morning was that in?
And that's what they were talking about, making the sandwiches. They made them
Oh.
under the supervision of Maisie, I think.
yeah.
Probably Maisie. I have no idea. I don't remember.
They made
Maisie
sandwiches
was probably already married because.
Oh, Maisie was, yeah.
Yeah, David
was
and me.
Sweden,
Yeah.
so
Right.
I
She
could
was.
see Maisie taking charge
taking
of
Oh,
that.
yeah,
charge
they
of
did
that.
that, yeah.
And she was looking for helpers, and I don't know who. Maybe my mom was the one that said, "Maureen, you're too young."
Right.
She was trying to,
Well, the other
She
two,
recorded.
Marie and
I can edit everything out.
because she was trying to give Blanche some separation,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were always, and they were. She was, and
Right.
Mom, being the grandmother that she was, and seeing this, she was trying to give some separation.
yeah, let them
To Blanche, you give
become-
her some credit.
become a
and so
young
on.
lady.
Yeah.
Right.
She wanted to put them with Beanie and Marie and Susan.
Right.
They're probably the three, and then Blanche.
Yeah.
I could just imagine your wedding was full of 8-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of all your brothers
Kind of
and sisters.
like Gina's,
Yeah.
Right.
wedding was,
Right.
maybe a little bit
Right.
younger than that, but
Yeah.
But it was an afternoon reception, right? And I remember.
Oh, I like that. The mass and then a meal for all the attendants.
Just
That
the
would be
attendants,
formal.
uh-huh.
And then you'd have everybody afterwards at the reception.
Right. And I
It was sort of
remember.
like a breakfast. It was actually we must got married in the morning because it was sort of a breakfast at the.
I
the Moose.
remember.
Yeah. It wasn't a big dinner. It's
Right, like when Mom said the tea room or whatever
Yeah,
you
it
did,
was
she
just-
said it was just the parents and the attendants. So it's still like you're all still in your
Yeah,
full
wedding
just
party.
a wedding party and
It's
a
just
few
the wedding party.
mothers and fathers and not even the kids. It was just
Yeah,
probably 12 of us or maybe I don't know. It wasn't
Oh, there
big.
was, there was.
yeah, no, just a very
Then we
simple.
went to
Very-
Moose.
very
went to
small
Moose for the
area.
reception,
Afterwards
yeah.
to the.
did you have a band or something at your wedding? Or
We had a band. We had a band. I don't know who it was.
Who
I
was,
have no idea.
who was coming around? Was it Ray was coming around all the time? Was
Ray, who?
Uncle
looking
Ray
for,
or-
looking for a drink or something. He was
Ray
somehow-
Sutton?
somebody.
Ray- which
Ray
one?
Kroll.
I don't think Ray
Yeah.
Kroll was there because I
Not
think.
Kroll. Ray
Han?
Hahn.
Oh, I have no idea.
So he would have been a 30-year-old. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, he was
drink,
all
but-
right.
I was
Well,
thinking Ray
Teresa-
Kroll,
Bet's-
who would have been 12 or
Betts
something.
wouldn't spot
Teresa
or
was a
back
baby.
off it either.
Like I said, Teresa was a baby. That she was the youngest then. She was like, remember her dancing on the floor.
Yeah,
She's the
Teresa
one
said
I
she-
really remember.
Yeah. Well, could Lefty and those guys get in? Lefty and Paul, they're too far away.
Yeah.
They're out in
I
California
don't know.
yeah,
by
If
they
now.
they
weren't
probably
there.
didn't get up.
No,
No, they
Arizona.
didn't come back.
No.
Paul was the one that I told you. You heard this story about him making an explanation or couldn't understand the wedding invitation.
So he did make it back, Paul.
No.
Oh, okay.
But the wedding invitations.
Oh, the
went to
weddings
them,
got
But
out
who
to-
were Bernice and Eugene? He.
Who in the hell were
Hell,
Bernice
Bernice
and-
and Eugene. Eugene and Bernice.
Actually, a lot of Grandma's family wouldn't have really known you that much, Dad. They might have known your brothers
Oh, yeah,
or
they
your
wouldn't have me
sister,
at all.
but
It
they
was-
wouldn't have, you know.
Right.
I knew probably Frances because her sister used to teach at the high school. I knew her, but I didn't. Well, I really didn't
Oh,
know
Aunt
Frances
Frances.
either, but I knew her.
Because Leo's a
Their
little
families-
older and Paul and
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I was. a bit
So really,
young.
Lois is 8 years older than you, Mom.
9.
And Jack, so then, and I'm thinking Ollie and Maisie would know.
Yeah, Jack
And
was.
Ray.
Families didn't really
Now,
know
Lois
each
is 6
other.
years older than you.
Yeah, but I was
Bess is
thinking
9 years
that.
old.
Oh, they knew
Oh,
all
that's
of them.
right. Lois
I
is
was
6 years
thinking that
old.
they would have known Ollie and Dick, and they might have been in school, high school, around the time you were in school.
Who?
Any of those?
Oh, yeah.
Maisie, Ollie, Dick.
Oh, yeah.
Dad-
Oh, she knew
you
all
would
of
Some
have
them.
of
known that.
Dad's younger
Yeah.
family
Oh, yeah,
members were of
Maisie-
age
Maisie
to
and
know
Leona,
Mom, but
but
your
Bud knew
family
them.
member was much older.
Much
And
older.
they
than
wouldn't
Dad.
have
way.
known Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't really know Dad.
Mm.
No.
I thought it was wonderful how much you guys embraced each other's families. I feel like I always felt like we would
Well, and then,
see Illigs and we'd see
Yeah.
McGuires and
well,
then
Mom
your
and Dad
parents
became friends to the McGuire. My mom and dad, they became friends. They became card buddies, and they get the house.
The common denominator was cards.
Yeah, they'd get together.
And with Jack's family.
Four of them. We had a dresser drawer like this, about 6 feet wide, pushed into the corner. Hey, that looks like a good place to put a commode. So that's what happens. We put a commode upstairs now.
Finally.
Behind the dresser.
Yeah.
In the room where the boys are.
Which one, the girl?
And me.
And the girls. So you actually got a toilet put in your own bedroom.
Yeah. I guess that helped me get it up. I might have been. I never thought about that, Patty, but we could put that in there.
Changed the
girls were hauling for bedroom all their lives, but then for a bathroom. But when I got up there, I guess we better get one.
Yeah, they might have come to appreciate all your bedwetting. They got their first bathroom.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. I should. I can tell Ollie, I guess.
Yeah, tell Ollie.
Yeah.
Guess why we got that bathroom?
Yeah. So that was there for a good while. Putting sticks inside the furnace in our basement. And the furnace is up there, and down below they have a breather, like a little thing open up, and we'd be sticking pieces of wood in there and pulling them out.
Just for fun.
Just for fun, and I have my winter clothes on.
Okay.
So, catch my pant leg on. My mother's upstairs. Over up 3 landings of steps. She comes down the steps. Pat, I had to burn the pant legs on fire by now, so she had to.
With her bare hands.
Bare hand.
You got a nice little shiny calf from that. Wow.
I was not even in school yet, so.
Must have hurt.
Yeah. So they sit there, and I said, then you had to throw it to first, and I played first base a lot.
So you were
softball.
mostly first base.
Yeah.
So how do you decide how do you get to be first, second, or third base? How does that?
Well,
did you guys
since
have a
I was
discussion?
I was left-handed. They usually put left-handers at first base.
Oh.
That was sort of a.
That was what you did.
Yeah, like Uncle Lefty was left-handed. Everybody was left-handers. It seems like they ended up at first
Then
base.
first base.
So,
Wow.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but I guess that's where you're hitting down the food. That's where.
Well, you're in a lot of plays as well. Like there's some pressure there being on first base versus.
You're there, and that's what yeah, and you're a left-handed batter. It was just being lefty was special too, because it was.
So when people line up, like let's say you're all lined up and you're picking teams, would people want the left-handed kid?
Yeah.
Nice.
But there wasn't. Fair to say, it wasn't that a lot of left-handers, and even in
That's
our
what
group,
I'm thinking. You're rare.
Our group was only myself and maybe one other kid. I spent all my life putting a mitt on my right hand. That was
for the
right
left,
hand.
for the other hand. Like you had to put the mitt on the wrong hand.
Yeah.
Because nobody had a left-handed mitt.
No, until Jim Nofrada, this is Uncle Bill's wife's brother. After the war. Finally, he's left-hander. Well, he brought that home with him or whatever, so I used to borrow his left-handed mitt and go play baseball. But I have a picture at home there. I don't know if you ever remember that one we're standing with Uncle Mick, a bunch of guys, and I'm standing with this mitt on my hand with the thumb over here. I'm standing like this. Yeah.
Thumb with the pinky and the pinky with the thumb.
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that photo.
Yeah, if it's Mick and I, it's one of the older ones we had.
Nice.
I was probably 7, 8 years old or something. Summit yet, in grade school, go back there. I said, we worked in the tavern. Right above us there was the Alice's Tavern. So they'd have us go up and clean up the floors and put the broken glass away, and around the side they used to break the bottles up against the side to have a big pile of glass, and then they'd come and pick it up every couple of months. But that's what you did with the whiskey bottles and the beer bottles.
Okay, you'd break them before you
you
throw
break
them away.
And they had this thing back in the back, 6x6 thing, right in the corner. It was exposed,
Okay.
Come around the driveway, and there's this place where they
Had the broken glass.
put the glass in there. So I said,
That would be a job for you.
yeah, we go and do that. Then scrub the tables from Saturday nights or whatever, every night I guess, and whatever they left there, sort the beer cans out and there were beer bottles out. And no can bottle in those days, no can of beer.
This was in the winter, so our refrigerator was a windowsill. And my cooking, I don't know what stove we had,
We
but
must
my
ate
cooking
out.
was.
I don't know. I don't ever remember eating anything in the apartment.
or something.
Well, I cooked. I don't know what I cooked, but I remember. Oh, I don't know.
We usually
One of the
ate
first
out,
meals
though.
I cooked, you fell asleep because you were on medicine for allergies, and you come home from work, took that medicine, you fell asleep, and I think I cried because it was one of the first meals I cooked out of the skillet. And we had no beds. We had army cots.
We had a bed.
We had army cots.
We
Like
had a
single
bed
army
there.
cots?
Yeah,
In that building. Wasn't it?
yeah.
Up in that one room.
That was our furniture. Didn't take it.
I
it
thought that was a
easy to
single
move.
bed.
yeah.
I thought it was a single bed. I
You
didn't know
thought
we
it
had
was
a double
bed
bed.
When you had been 6 months in the fort, whatever,
Yeah.
in Tennessee, so you
Yeah.
figured that's what a bed was.
Yeah, I didn't-
Yeah.
I slept like furnace would be on in the winter time, and I said we used to have little sticks of wood we'd stick in the door, like
Right.
a small door, like
Right.
left the ashes out, I could stick it in there. So one day I'm probably I don't know if I was first grade or not, about that half hour, 6 years old. This little stick pulled out and burnt, caught my pant leg on fire.
Uh-oh.
I was down
And you're all by yourself.
and all the kids are there too. So I start running upstairs, and my mother hears me. Says she meets me at the landing. I go up 3 or 4 stairs. She comes down 6th stair or 7th stair. The landing. She sees him. The thing burning there. She patted it out with her hand.
Wow.
Hit them and run all over the place. Well, we used to do that.
Oh, you used to, yeah. So we were always playing games.
Yeah.
So I felt like you guys brought to us. Were you playing a lot of games as kids? You were just always you're picking teams and just sort of making a little.
Once we got old enough to like play baseball, we'd play baseball in people's yards or somebody, just any place we could get a field. But we would go to those places too. We were back, not real close. They're a couple hundred yards anyhow. The guy has a basketball hoop down there. One guy had a basketball hoop in his garage. I used to spend a lot of time there, and it was down on Keystone. It's about 200 yards from our place.
Okay.
But down on the Keystone.
Then what would you use for basketball? You said getting a ball was really hard to do, but you were able to. That kid maybe had a basketball.
He got a basketball. Somebody get a basketball. Some of the kids got things like that, but
Anything you got, you'd have to share, right? If you had a
Yeah.
basketball or a baseball or the
Yeah.
gloves,
Oh, yeah,
and then
so
like the
the-
outfield team
But
would come
everybody
in, you'd
knew
give
it.
all the gloves to the next kids, and they'd
Yeah.
take them and they'd go
Yeah.
run out to the
when we're
field.
playing ball, we get that kid. He knew that's his ball type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't play the game until he showed up.
To get a basketball, I don't know. I was pretty 17 years old to get my own. I guess it was pretty close.
Yeah.
I don't remember having because I'd go down and shoot basket at the gym, or not the gym, but the court right outside the high school there. We used to walk a mile down. I was probably 18, 19 years old, but had a basketball, and Billy Illick, my nephew, and Gene, we'd walk from our house up on the highway there down to the high school and play basketball. I'd walk those guys down. So one day they were messing around and we're walking home, and they let the ball go down the street at the alleyway up here, almost maybe 2 blocks from our place.
Okay.
Let it down on the back alley and through the intersection, First Street, Second Street, Fifth Street, all the way down about 6 blocks.
Oh my
You
goodness.
guys,
Were they just little kids?
yeah,
Or-
they were about 8 years old, and I was 12 years older than James, so they were 5 or 6, I guess. And I was 15, 16. Left my basketball because I took them down to the basketball court with
Right,
me.
right.
And so
Who ran down and got it? Did you have
we
to run?
all went down.
You made all of them
We
go
all
with you.
started walking. It's still going.
Yeah.
That's amazing how the ball just kept going through those intersections. And
Well, you lived on a hill. I mean, that really,
down the
once
hill,
it gets
yeah.
going, it.
It was pretty good hill starting, and otherwise it'd be level, but it was still.
And all the
enough
cars
speed.
honking their horns.
I don't know. That's what I said. Amazing that somebody didn't
Amazing
run
nobody
bump
hit
of
it
a car
over.
or something.
Yeah.
But, we were up. We were up. Like
You were
6th
king of the
Street.
hill.
6th Street instead of 8th Street where we were. We called Gene.
So you never signed a paper, Gene, or anything. Butch.
I probably never even thought about it, but went to work, I guess, and I don't know, signed some things out or
All
signed
of
a
a sudden,
check.
you get a social security number.
Yeah, Social Security number,
And they
signed the
ask for your
checks.
name, yeah.
So I'd say Eugene Illich.
Eugene Illich,
But
yeah.
that wasn't until, but I was Butch back, and that was, they thought, well, Butch the puncher. Whatever, and most of my dad would be coming off of, he'd be working on the highway.
Oh, so
He'd
you'd
be
all
there,
have lunch
too.
together.
He would have us put the lunch together, help Mom, potatoes and bread, and make these. But that was about what we had most of the time: potatoes and bread and egg, maybe once in a while, and stuff like that. But walk up, walk back, walk up, walk back. So we did a lot. Then they moved the basketball. It was 2 miles away. It was over at the skating rink. So we had to go to the high school, walk a mile over there, play basketball, walk back a mile and up home, and go 2 miles. So
I could see why you want a bicycle.
I wore out a couple bicycles on that thing. Hauled up and there's that snake. But I said I banged my cart and everything else, but then drove to the next hole and he's still underneath there. I'm by myself. Never popped up or anything else. So we called the club, but they come down and took it up. And when we come up, he has it on a stick like this, I'd like that, and I don't know if it was a copperhead or not. We never did find out, but it was one of the. Thought it could have been a scariest snake, but what did we do? We weren't drinking either, could we? It was our fun. And I'm by myself and driving up to the clubhouse, and then we get up there, and they said, "Oh, here's your snake."
Music. My mother was a pianist. I don't know if you ever knew that or not.
I did not know that.
See, that's
My mother had her own piano when days where you didn't have your own piano. But her dad, she had 4 brothers. They were and a sister. The sister died young of cancer. But my mother then, and I don't remember her at all. She died before I was born.
Your aunt.
My Aunt Catherine. And, but my mother had 4 brothers, and she was just as apt to get up and hit the baseball and go out and play with her kids as in they go to the kitchen, get, Mom, you're up. I was just saying. So she would not hit the ball whenever they were playing in the yard. But she was a very strong woman, I thought. Strong in faith, but strong in character. And I think he had to be in those days because she, they lost her home. She did all the canning in the summer to prepare for the winter. She raised a good family.
Would she sing to you, Mom? You mentioned something about music was so important to your
Well,
life, and she
more
played the
singing,
piano.
she had piano. But you must realize that by the time I came along, the piano sat because her fingers were getting arthritic and she just didn't play as much. But I remember going up to Uncle Jim's. Her brother lived close by, and their daughter, Catherine, played the piano. And she'd sit down and play just anything. And everybody gathered around the piano and sang. And this was what you did. I mean, that was... she just played any kind of music. But they had a big yard, which we didn't have. And they had 3 sons and a daughter. This Catherine was their only girl. I think Uncle Jim, her brothers always looked after Sue. I mean,
Your mom.
Yeah, she was the favorite aunt. And anyhow, she had all these, and Aunt Margaret and Uncle Jim were good to my mother, to my parents, both of them. But that's where we went for all the gatherings. Like we'd go down Peggy's. When we all went to town, when we all get together, it was always up at Uncle Jim's. But it was their daughter then. By the time I remember, she was the one that was playing. But my mother had still had all the music. And that piano passed down through the generations, I guess. And Marie Boland, they had the piano for a long time because Dick played. And whenever it could no longer be used as a musical instrument, Donna, their daughter Donna, had it, and her husband took it apart because this was one of those big stand-up. Do you remember seeing the big stand-up? Do you ever remember seeing a piano? It was Aunt Peg's for a long time, I think. Anyhow, it's now...
I don't remember it in Grandma and Papa McGuire's house, but I do remember seeing big, tall stand-up pianos in other homes.
Yeah.
Well, this big backdrop of this piano is now a headboard and Dick and Marie's bed.
Wow, that's special. I think she was an excellent card player too, your
Yes.
mom. And I'm wondering about this whole piano and cards and numbers and I think some of that like to be able to
the
put that all
balance of,
together.
yeah.
That
I remember Jack Hall saying everybody thought Dad was the card player, but it was Mom. And he played with her enough. She really could figure it out. She was a bright woman.
smart cookie.
Yeah, very, as I said, very strong character and good.
My
Loving.
mom,
I remember something about your go ahead with
Yeah,
Grandma Illig.
we used to play with the Charlie McGuire's, my mother and dad and everything. But Mom would hold her cards up and she'd be up, down, over, just
yeah.
sort of all out of category, like, what do you do that for? That guy over there's always looking at mine. My dad.
Oh, so she's rearranging her cards to keep them from.
Well, she thought Dad would, whatever. But she had her cards going up and down, like all over the place. And then she'd go over and play that one. She was very conscious of what she was doing, but, it was just funny that she would do that.
You
type
think
of
she was
thing.
playing mind games?
Yeah,
That's
mind
what
game
them
with
all about?
She
Kind of
had
put the
she
card
played
on
mind
the
games
left,
with them. Yeah, she was.
and then put the card on the right.
Well, she was too, because she would pick the cards up and just put them in her hand. Never separate them into suits
At the beginning.
at the
Yeah.
beginning. She
But
just
then
picked
as-
the cards
but then
up,
as you played, she would be moving.
Yeah, I
She
guess,
pulled
yes,
the right
yeah,
card out.
Yeah.
and nobody knew who had that card, but she pulled that card out. Right?
But, yeah, she was. She
knew
was
what
a
she
sly
did.
old lady.
Trickster.
Yeah.
She was.
So how was she as a mom?
I was in one.
I remember her being short.
Yeah, she's very short, but she didn't have to be too strict because Bill Illig's shadow was behind her. So,
Yeah.
and she would never tell Dad today which went up to some
Tattletale.
Tattletale. She would never do that stuff like that. She would.
Tell her what happened when you were getting your hair cut, when she was cutting
Oh, yeah.
hair.
I'd be here, Mom would be behind me, and Dad would be right there. Oh! He'd look at it, yeah.
So he'd frown at you if you complained.
Well, if you went, ow!
Twitching.
Here, she has this clipper.
Weren't electric.
Yeah.
These, clipper. These are hand clipper.
Mechanical clippers.
Yeah. Well, I guess she'd be there, and Dad would be right there.
So Dad's in the front.
All you had to just look at him. So then she'd, this thing, and then she'd get out some oil and okay, and then she'd do it.
Because she would be nicking you.
Yeah, and the thing itself would be floating through there, and just was. And then I had a ticket. I had a little ticklish spot there. Yeah. Okay. But now you got 5 boys there, 6 boys. And then the neighborhood boys that get their hair cut. This is clippers, they come out.
Mothers were busy.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
My mother used to take us to go to the store. It'd be Dick and I and about 3 girls would walk downtown 1 mile to the A&P, get the order, and come out. And now we got to walk back up home. And she did that every couple of weeks maybe or something like that. We didn't stop that often, but when we did, everybody just got in line and just walked up the hill. But she was very crafty, shifty, something like you're talking about Grandma McGuire. But one time we'd go Sunday afternoon movies. Sometimes she'd come with us. So one time she went with us, and she come out of the movie and her pants. She had a pair of pants, but they were so old. It was always she had a
No elastic.
Elastic or tie or something.
had something around to hold them up. Well, they slipped down this one day, off her down to her ankles. She stepped out of them, left them there, and we walked home. That's what Tom Crescent was like. and
Did she have you all like standing around?
yeah, well, you understand, about 3 or 4
boys
girls.
ran to cover up.
3 or 4 girls were. It would be
Just
about 4 or
imagine
5
what my
just
boys
doing
would
that.
do.
But she'd have like a rope almost around these pants to keep. It wasn't, elastic was gone and all these other things.
Well, I didn't even know if they had elastic in those days.
Well, they had to have
Before, I was
something.
wondering, did they have sewing machines
Oh yeah.
that you plug
Oh,
in
yeah.
or that you step on?
No, the treadle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'd have to sit there and.
Oh yeah, they did. There was.
That's my made clothes or remade clothes because it was the Depression.
Right.
And you just cut down or made fit. And I think it's harder to do that than it is to sew from a pattern.
Right.
Where you have it all
Right.
cut out in right sizes and oh yeah.
Yeah, they did a lot of sewing.
Yeah, you just step down from one down to the other of people.
But I was.
But everybody
making
was
your own
doing it.
clothes, making your own food. The washing up would have taken so much longer.
Oh yeah, washing
yeah.
You just had a little wringer thing, and you didn't have dryer or anything else
No,
onto this
you
thing.
sat there with a crank or something.
Well, this wasn't the crank, but it was an automatic machine. But it was just you put them in there, and then you bring them out. You had to put them through the wringer to dry
the
them
drying
out.
part.
Drying part, and
Hang
then
'em
now
up
you
on
had
the
to hang
line.
them up there.
Yeah.
You had no line to
Yeah.
hang. Everybody had a line, what do you call it,
Clothesline.
line?
Everybody had a clothesline. Is that
Yeah,
what you called it?
clothesline.
Clothesline.
Most people had a clothesline in their backyards. They had the same type of.
Grandpa died, Illig, 1974, October 22nd, and Grandma died October 27th, 1983. I remember that because
83.
I had a bone to pick with you about that one.
It's 43 years.
Why?
Wait, so that's Grandma's parents. Grandma, can you say the dates again?
That's Dad's
Grandpap
parents.
Illig died in 1974, October 22nd, 1974. Grandma Illig died October 27th, 1983.
Do you have the McGuires as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you say grandma,
Mom died in May of 76.
let's see.
And Dad died in
Here.
March.
Looking
I
at
have-
Grandma's birthday and passing calendar as well. Births and deaths.
Correct. And I have on here, I just turned to it. Grandpap McGuire died March 27th, 1982. And Grandma McGuire died April, oh no, that's her birthday. Did you say it was in May? Mom?
May 22nd, 20.
Grandma McGuire died May 22nd,
Yeah.
1976.
So what bone do you have to pick with me about from that one?
So Grandma Illig died
Oh, October. Yeah.
when I was in Midland. I mean, you just remember, I just...
Yeah.
remembers where she
I do. I remember.
Well, sure.
So I had just left. I had started work like September 7th, right
you
after
left
Labor Day in 83.
I remember Swan bought a car, and we were just so excited, and she drives to Michigan, but go ahead.
Wait a minute. She drove home and had a flat tire.
Well, I'll tell you about Grandma Ellie first.
Yeah.
But so I have just gone up there. I have no vacation days in, whatever, because I
Right, you
up
just
there.
started in September,
And so in October,
a month later.
27th, Grandma Illig dies, and I'm debating what to do, and Mom says, you don't need to come back for the funeral. It's okay, you don't need to do this.
Right.
And I have regretted that. I've regretted not coming back, because I think I came back at Christmas, and or whenever I would have came back, and everybody had processed it. Like
had gone through it.
and I hadn't, and it was like it wasn't real to me that she had
She wasn't
died.
here.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
it and it affirmed for
No
me the
closure.
whole value of why there's a funeral, right? Because it's not so much for the person that died; it's really for the people that
They're
are
living.
here to grieve, to say, the whole thing of
To realize
bringing
it
closure
makes-
to all of
yeah.
that.
If
So
you're not there, you don't realize it. Yeah.
right. I mean, I was very impacted
And
by
you-
it then,
yes.
and I mean.
Senior year. That's when we used to walk up and down the street there. Keystone Avenue was going to school down here, so we'd walk up and down. So I'd seen her, but I knew her for 3 or 4 years. She was at school downtown. I was up here, so we didn't know anybody in 8th grade.
Right.
High school, she was in some of the classes, not too many. She did A and B. We had
First year I wasn't
we
here.
were
You guys
D
thought
and
you were
D and B
smart.
sections. D B. So I wasn't really in school, but she had many boyfriends in between there.
I had a lot of friends.
Boyfriends.
She came from the Keystone School with boys at the high school,
Yeah.
right? And you're the outside kid coming in from
Oh, that's
Summit.
not Summit. Yeah.
Coming
breaking
in.
through.
We have this in my school where two schools come together
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
high school, and you've got to, like Eric's,
Yeah.
got to figure out the King School.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so anyhow, our Summit boys come down and go to the high
Right.
school, and she's the downtown people going to the high school, walking
Right.
over.
Right.
So she's not in the same class with me either. So we're
Okay.
D section, B sections.
Okay.
So we're like that. And then 2 years later, it wasn't until the senior year that we finally dated.
Okay.
It was like January, February, March, April.
And you went to the
May.
prom. We had that one picture of you guys laughing. That's from
4
your
months,
prom,
3
right?
months.
Yeah.
4
Winter
months.
We were
winter
good
dating.
friends. We were good friends.
I
in
feel like I
Wayne
saw ski pictures too, or these people are sled
Oh
riding or
yeah,
something.
that was
Yeah, well,
that was a crowd.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
we
I
went-
know. I know it's not you alone.
But
There's
they
a
would,
crowd
these
of you.
crowds, we would all walk, and then next thing you know, Bud and I are walking together up here,
Yeah.
and that's like Christmas time. Joe Friday and I are sled riding on Keystone. Bud's there. Oh, come on and meet my parents. Christmas time for the first time. I get to meet them. I don't know if you remember.
Lois
that
and
or not.
Jack were home. Lois and
Yeah.
Jack were home.
But
Okay, so Lois
Joe-
is already married.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and Joe, yeah, and I knew them, but I knew of them. Jack
Okay.
used to have a bike, and we didn't like him because he had a bike. Second of all, he had another guy with him that was nasty. Anyhow, the Egger, what was his name? His buddy.
Oh,
Anyhow, he was. We used to holler at them, yeah, you guys, and then run. We were walking there. So one time they come up to the bike, we went behind a bush on the corner, like big bush, and we're sitting in there. They come up with the bikes right up there, right. They're 2 feet apart. We're sitting in this bush, and Jack was there with his bike, looking. I think he knew we were there,
Right.
but he was going to punish us a little bit,
Yeah, or yelling at him.
No, yeah, he just sort of,
Made you
we're
sweat.
sitting,
Threatening.
Get the hell out, I'm gonna leave. And then he finally pulled away, so that's how he couldn't go. But Jack was a big shot because he had a damn bike and we never had a bike.
So now he comes back to town and he's married to the girl you like's sister. So are you being nice to him now? I could imagine him saying, hi, is he sort of
Oh.
grilling you a little bit?
Who's Jack?
Jack. Like now he's married to Lois.
Oh yeah, well I
And you're
said, but
now-
at that time he wasn't dating Lois in high school or
No,
anything.
no, no. I'm saying Mom says you're there for Christmas time, and Jack and Lois had come back.
Oh yeah, they're yeah.
So you
Fast
and
forward
you
about
and
8 years.
JoJo came in and watched a
Yeah,
football game.
Yeah, right. But I knew
And
Jack.
I was getting edgy because I had a date that night with another kid.
Why did you invite him in?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. We're friends. I mean, I was friends.
Hey, every time I go up past the school with her house, I had a basketball in my hand. Bang, 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 bang.
That was instead of knocking on her door. You just
bing, bing,
grabbed
bing,
it.
bing,
Instead of
around my
throwing
back, doing all these
stones at the
tricks with
window.
the door. Joe, here, Joe, go catch this. He went on the wire properly. And,
Oh, the wire.
yeah,
I gotta go get it.
So finally, she invited us down and build a snowman and get to go in the house. Jack and Lois happened to be there too then. But Joe and I got to go in at Christmas time. Sat there, you know.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So we were seniors by then, yeah. We were seniors. So she had 3 or 4 boys friends in between that time. But
But you went to the prom with Dad.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
so
meant
they were-
earlier. She was going to prom with a senior when he was a senior and she was a freshman.
Oh, this is her second prom. Third, fourth.
Third, fourth.
I mean, you went to more proms than anybody else in the
Yeah,
family.
she started
did.
early. Yeah.
And I, Macy's.
My memories, I definitely have memories of Aunt Maisie's, you
Yeah.
know, running around outside and stuff. But I feel like in your grandma McGuire's, there was even just the place where you, I think they call them armoires or something. Like you could open up some doors and kind of get in there, or you could you could have drawers and stuff. Like I don't remember you at Dad's house having a piece of furniture in it beside a chair,
We had a dining
Bed.
room that had a
a table.
little
Yeah.
Like there weren't a lot of cupboards.
Yeah, the porch
like,
was
we'd
empty.
We'd go in and we'd, like as kids, you'd go into all the cupboards and closets and things, but we didn't have very many at the Illig.
have they had them on their back or?
Did they eventually put a closet in there? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't.
They just always
Yeah.
said they had 2 sets of clothes, the one in the bath and one in the wash, and I washed every day.
And they stayed there until your dad died, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Because I remember being at a funeral, or whatever, wake
Mm-hmm.
for your dad.
Oh, okay. I know.
And I remember Rob Illig and Robin probably, I don't know, doing cards of some kind. Like it was not like they were giving us alcohol or drink or anything, but just the idea of playing poker or something
Yeah.
with the cousins at the wake, you know, celebrating a long life kind
Yeah.
of thing. And
Sure.
it was festive. And I remember these guys teaching us, I don't know, how to play 21, you know, with the
Yeah.
jacks.
Yeah.
They knew the card games.
Something
They were-
little like that.
That
But I
was
don't
your
remember we were
entertainment.
I felt like we went to the church, you know, maybe the
Yeah.
cemetery, and then came back to the Illig house, and that's where the party was.
Oh, do you remember? Do you remember?
Wow.
I might have remembered that.
Well, I don't remember.
Only because of the hidden, the secret card thing, you know.
Yeah.
You could teach those, whatever, little kids to play. I think he just was showing us jacks and aces was probably
Yeah.
21. You know, but-
Who was it? Who was that? Who
And then I remember being
Robin,
amazing.
Robin.
Robin.
okay.
You know, probably remember their name because they were twins and they were.
Yeah.
But everything else after that, I feel like was at Maisie's for me.
You were very fortunate
Well,
because
then-
they very seldom visited. I think they used to come around. The older two used to come down because Georgia May's
Families from
family lived in Crescent, right street
Oh.
behind Bud and them. So they were there.
Okay.
They were up, and they'd stay there for a while, and then I'd see them. And they were, I'm like high school, and they were just maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, and walking the streets of Crescent like, and I'd see them. But they were
Georgia May was married to
Glenn.
Glenn. So
Glenn,
Glenn's
yeah.
family was down rare. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The kids, they would. This is later on, you know. Actually,
Right.
we
Right,
we
like
were
you
in
said.
high school and
You're
stuff
now
like
18, and his kids are 8.
that. 8 or something, yeah. But they
Well,
used to
I don't know. He died young. I feel like.
47.
47.
Oh, yeah.
47.
I mean, I
5
remember them
kids.
dying. I mean, that was old at the time for me. You know what I mean? Like,
It was
but
a
that
young
is
kid.
young.
Yeah.
But when they died, I was young enough that
Yeah.
not that I thought that they were old,
We
but
didn't
I
tell
didn't
you
recognize
about-
how young they were.
He died. Bud and I go
Hold
to
on,
Crescent.
hold on.
Yeah, we were in their 40s, I guess.
So
Probably
y'all,
ten.
you
so it
kids,
goes
you're all
Bill,
born.
Eunice,
No, Bill, Mick,
Mick,
Eunice, Glenn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
then who
Glenn's
else? Keep
the
going.
first
Keep
one.
keep going through.
Ray,
Ray.
Ray, then Dick, then Leona, then me, then Maisie, and then all.
Okay.
Okay. So Glenn's the fourth child, but he's the first one to die.
He worked up in Niagara Falls in the same. He and Mick worked in the same building. It was a lot of chlorine and stuff like that, and
And he had cancer. He died from cancer.
yeah, they died.
It's
of
the
cancer.
Love Canal.
And then the
Yeah.
Love Canal was there too. They lived
Brain
on top
cancer.
of the
Brain-
Love Canal.
Wasn't his brain cancer?
I don't know
Cancer
what
of
it
the
was.
brain.
But it was before,
He
there
had
was
a
some
tough
kind of
life.
chemical attack on him. It was through the job that they had.
Yeah.
Then Mick was a little older. He was probably 5 or 6 years later, maybe. I don't know exactly what the time was, but he wasn't that. He might have been 50 something, 50, 54, 6,
I
something
think
like
he
that.
was in his
Right.
60s. I
Because
think
he's
he
a
was
younger brother, so.
He's-
Anyhow, but
No,
go
he was
ahead.
older than
So you
Glenn.
He
go
was
to-
10 years older than me, so.
But in that time, they had no regulations, no safety regulations in these chemical plants, and so
Right.
that's what
Look up the Love Canal.
Yeah.
I know,
If
and not,
you-
so not only they, but their kids and
Their wives, their
Oh,
wives
yeah.
died of
daughter.
cancer.
Like I was chatting
Mary
with
Ellen.
Mom and Dad, and I went up to Uncle Dick's funeral, and one of their daughters, Georgia.
Mary Ellen.
They had his
there.
had
One
those little
one
kids
was
with
there,
her.
and she was saying how many. She had like 5 different cancers herself.
Oh,
This was a cousin
really?
who was saying that she's had so many cancers herself.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
born in
Right,
love.
they were
with it.
riddled with it because
Right.
they all drank the water, swam in the
They were, and
pools.
lived
Yeah.
in it. They lived over
Lived in
top
it.
of it. They
Yeah.
lived there. Love Canal was there, right,
Right
in
in
their
your area.
backyard.
Right, right. So it was one of our cousins was talking about. But go ahead. So you guys went. You started to say you went up to Glenn's funeral, or couldn't
Oh
you go?
yeah. Of course, we didn't lose anybody in the service and stuff like that, but
So your parents were really your first
Yeah.
time you had to
yeah,
lose a loved one.
yeah. And then, yeah, I said,
Your families were huge.
10 and 9, McGuire's and Illich. So.
So that's pretty lucky to have gotten everybody. You know, nobody died in childhood or in the wars or.
Well, yeah, your mother had the sister of hers that died in infancy, like 8 days old or something. I think it was between Bets and Lois. It's the only one that died early, and then told your mother lost her brother in the war. I didn't lose anybody in the war, but and then those other guys, Mick and Glenn died like 47. I don't know exactly what. It was from working. He was working in not a
With
steel
some
mill,
chemicals in
with chemicals. Yeah, he was in
I think it was a place called Love Canal.
Love Canal. He lived in, and actually his house was on Love Canal. His
And then
kids,
I think a lot of people in his family got sick too.
they had so
They had their share of
yeah,
heartache.
Glenn died 47, and Mick was, I don't know, not 60. Ray was 80 some. Glenn was, well, I said 47. Bill was 90, 93. So he's the longest living Illich that we had.
And Dick was maybe 80 some.
Yeah, he's probably about my age, 85 maybe at that time.
And Eunice was in her 90s.
She and Bill are the two that broke the 90 mark. The other
Yeah.
ones, no. And I said, then your mother, I said Lefty, and then Leo, I don't know, he was probably just in the 70s. Paul, I don't know, he died younger, he might have been late 60s, early 70s, their side of the family.
That's what happened. He just
Yeah, had a heart attack.
had a heart attack and died. Yeah. Very suddenly, very suddenly. But it was anticipated for a long time.
76 considered an old age. I mean, I know
Yes.
your other grandparents
Yeah,
lived
I
older,
can-
but
yeah.
76, growing up doing the work he did. And
Yeah.
That's right.
stuff.
That's right.
Work he did. He started in
Right.
He was in 6th
12
grade.
years old or so.
And he'd get up and drive the
wasn't
tractor on the farm and everything else and do work. He was a working man at 12
Which
years
wasn't
old.
it your dad that worked in a ice house, or was it not my
I was
dad?
your dad.
So I definitely remember a story of an Iceman.
Yeah.
But I didn't know which
They had-
one of them.
So that was Grandpa
They
McGuire.
had blocks of ice that they would have frozen, and you would go out and get. You had ice boxes. You
Right.
didn't have refrigerators,
Right.
and you get a chunk of ice, and it would last for
Up
maybe
your
a week.
porch, you'd have this
Yeah, ice
little
blocks.
ice block.
Yeah.
And then he delivered. There again, they delivered chunks of ice. You go out and chop it. You'd have to chop it, I guess, and get it out of the.
Yeah.
Well, what about in your family, Grandma? Who was like between your parents? Like who was the disciplinarian, or who? We've talked about.
I think in the home, my mother was, but Dad. See, I had 4 older brothers, and he really worked with them. I mean, he had to lay. Oh, how many miles away? Maybe 5 miles away.
3 to 5, yeah.
Yeah, he had a plot of ground that's where he rented or he worked for it. I guess the boys worked it, and that's how he got it. But he had this plot of ground that they worked.
It's a farm.
Yeah, farm.
And they had a little log cabin, I guess, and they stayed out there.
Well, I
Awesome.
remember in your grandma's McGuire's house, you go downstairs and there was likely to be guns and knives and dead things hanging that had been skinned.
Oh, yeah.
And
They
so
were
there was
hunters.
hunting and fishing and the
Exactly.
big wellies. And so I did feel like there was somebody was going off and getting
And so my
food
dad,
and vegetables
Yeah.
and meat and putting it in the basement.
see, and my dad was that. He did that. He brought that home for the meals. I mean, many a
Right.
time. The rabbit was your meal, and they doctored up and
Squirrels. Even squirrels, they'd be eating the
squirrel
squirrel.
pot pie.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a bead from the shotgun.
Right. Somebody had gotten. Yeah, I definitely remember
the
the
squirrel
hunting.
is so small,
Yeah.
You take a bite of the leg, well, you don't know when you're gonna come up with a BB. Oh, there's a BB.
And he saw that the boys. He saw that the boys they were all baseball players or softball players. So he was very much involved with. Wasn't that he wasn't there or a disciplinarian, but I guess he
Well,
was.
I think
more
even
the
at
boys-
work down at the Moose, so he worked at the Moose, so I think he's
He
in
was
that talking
secretary.
all the time. That
Right.
Yeah, he's when he wasn't out in the road that much then,
Right.
but that was always the gathering place of the town, one
Right.
of the places, and he
Right.
got all the news and
But he
everything
was
else.
more with. I think he was more with outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
And Mom was in home. I mean,
Yep.
she
Right.
sewed and she cooked and she did the embroidery. And from these samples, see, Dad would get new samples every year for these sales. Like, big thing was calendars. And so, like, the banks would always get these big, long calendars you hung on the wall, and that was their advertisement. And they'd give those out just like you give church calendars out now. But Mom would get into that after he would give her the samples from one year to the next, and she would start in January, start embroidery for the next year's Christmas gifts. Don't you remember you all getting the pillowcase with your names on it?
Yes, but what would the calendars have
Well,
to do?
or the advertisement things. You could hide those advertisements, and I don't know. They weren't all calendars. They would be pens and pencils and any other little kind of trinkets that she would
really?
use
I
as for
definitely
gifts.
remember
Oh,
getting
yeah.
all the
That
trinkets.
she called
as
it
gifts.
gag grab bag, and she give each
Yeah.
family one. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
her Christmas.
No, I definitely
supply.
remember that. They were both. You said that Grandma Illig was crafty, but
Well,
Yeah,
this
she
crafty
did
in
with your mind.
yeah.
But I think
knew-
Grandma McGuire was also very crafty with hand, like the idea
Yeah.
to feed 9-10 kids
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
whatever was coming in and making that into a meal for the day. And
You used to
Re-
get. If
I
you-
remember her reusing envelopes. Grandma McGuire. That's how we kept score. We would open up
Oh,
the
yeah.
mail,
Yeah.
and then you would have the envelope from the.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
you
you'd
guys,
open
you
that up, and
played a
then
lot
you'd
of
use
cards
that, and
with
you'd write all your
yeah.
Yeah.
things on that.
Yeah, you didn't mind good.
And all the pens had logos on them.
Yeah.
Right.
I,
That
I
was the
remember the guy.
advertisement.
I remember the Geiger company.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're still in business today, and I hear in KDKA, Frank Geiger's prediction for the winter. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's still
fun.
comes out.
They're kind of an almanac people.
You're-
Yeah, up in Lewiston, Maine, they come from.
Grandpa McGuire had one trait. He always very good at giving people rides, women on the street. This lady across there, particularly, he'd be here in 6th Street. The Moose was down 1st Street. So he'd come home for lunch, go back to, he had his little car. They'd call over, hey, Charlie, we'd like to go shopping today, but can you take us down there? And then he'd take them down. But it was frequently, like a cab. He was a cabbie for the two or three of them, but this one lady. But her mother was so just pissed off at him so often, it wasn't funny.
But some of these neighbors didn't speak. Or they
they're mad at each other.
One would get in the front seat and one get in the back.
They wouldn't talk at all.
I'm going. They'd watch for him to go out the door, and then they'd come out their door and he'd ride down. He'd get them all rides down.
But they were always.
Now to get back.
Mama McGuire was mad, and these women were mad at each other. But they got a ride from Charlie to 4 or 5 blocks. and they know every day he's coming home.
Right.
12 or whatever, and going back, and I guess they call them up when they were finished shopping. I don't know.
I know. I didn't. Never called them. I don't know how they got home, but
you don't know. But he knows. But they were all. They were.
So they didn't like that another person was in the
car. They didn't like the other person. Just
they didn't get along.
Just didn't get along. Not only with Charlie, but that would just
they had something
continue
even before they got in the car.
Yeah.
Would they ever sort of be mad like a child or something, or they didn't go to church?
I don't know.
Or,
I don't know what they. I was too young to know what they were upset about.
Were about.
Yeah, I didn't care. I don't know. Dad didn't care. Dad was very jovial. He just had to drive the car.
Yeah.
He enjoyed the fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs.
Well,
the verbal
fisticuffs. Yeah.
Put your nose up in the
verbal. Yeah. But they were just, and their neighbors. There was about 3 houses down here, and the other ones up the way.
Problem, Dad. You lived on the highway and could stay out of this, but Grandma lived in the thick of
the town.
The neighbors, and they're all jawing at each other about somebody took this and that kid did this, and don't you know that Susie did that, and right? They're just all jawing. Hanging up the line.
Yeah.
And they had a sewing circle too. There's another one thing going on.
My mom and they had that group of friends for 50 years. That they were friends, and they started out. It was a good group of women.
Wow.
And they
productive
Fridays,
whatever it was, productive.
Yes. And that's what they would do, the embroidery. And some did tatting, and some of them did crocheting. My mom darned socks.
Yeah.
She used to have, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of the, from the time you were born to now, we just talked about phones even being one thing, but planes. I didn't get on a plane until I was 20, but when did you get on a plane? How old were you when you got on a plane?
My first plane ride was I was 20, maybe 21, 20 years old, from Fort Knox.
Oh.
I flew into up to Evansburg.
That's true, the military would be.
Flew into Pittsburgh, thumbed the ride from Pittsburgh to Crescent.
So thumbing rides was something you don't see.
Well, especially right after the war, the cars were starting to be plentiful and stuff like that. So it was, but my early years, not too many people. The car was like my dad's car. He had a truck, like a little panel truck, and that was for taking people to work in it. So none of the other guys. I don't know if any of the older brothers got too much in that truck at all. It was just that truck had to be ready to go, and he was,
right. It was his work.
His work way, and then also this crowd he'd be picking up. 3 guys he'd picking up, so he needed that. So we didn't have much of a.
I remember here when you first started having us. I remember you telling the stories. I think you and Mom only had one car.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you'd go off to work, and then Mom would be home with all the babies.
Yeah, she was home by herself. Yeah, I guess every now and then, I don't know if I got a ride to different. I think if I needed to get a ride or something like at home or something like that. But most of the time I had the car at work. Yeah.
So I remember we just played in our yard. We just played in the neighborhood.
build.
We didn't walk a mile like you walked a mile, but we'd walk a little bit to get to places, and that's how you got around.
You guys
you'd
probably
walk
worked as
somewhere.
much as I did, just different, just through the neighborhood and everything.
Well, then the other thing, I think we got bikes, which, as you mentioned, it was scarce for you to have a bike, but you built a lot of our bikes or would be working on them. I felt like there was always a bike there were never a car in our garage. There were a bunch of bikes in pieces.
Yeah, pieces of bike.
I feel like you were a bike mechanic. I think every kid would come by with a bike, and there would be a chain off, and the tires,
more flat tires,
and the pedals. We would all just come by. I don't know if you remember this, but I felt like you and Mr. Winkowski would do the most kind of sports with the kids, and the bike I would put as a sport, and baseball or softball, football. You guys would always be organizing.
And we played most of the stuff right in the backyard.
And our yard was, we had a basketball hoop.
Yeah, that's right too.
And a lot of people didn't have basketball hoops, and now I can see why, because to hear that thump, thump, thump.
We got.
You and Mom didn't seem to mind that not only we would be around, but 20 other kids would be around.
Oh yeah, well she liked that being around just because you guys are being in the right, right. You were here too. They were you guys playing here and being down someplace else playing. I think. And then I guess we did the only one that had the hoops, but we used to play a lot of softball and stuff in the backyard there.
I remember two things. We were one of the only ones who had a patio in the back, so we did a lot of foursquare, and it was very good for basketball and any kind of ball bouncing. And it's level. All right, while we're on a hillside, it's level, and the front was level. And so in the front, we would play all kinds of games, and in the back, we'd play all kinds. In the back, we had a patio. And the only other house I remember being in a yard was the Winkowski yard. Was also this level yard where we'd play kickball and football and baseball. So there was something about you as families, the Illig family parents and the Winkowski family parents, but then also the yards had these
similar.
You guys invested in some patio back there and a hoop and.
Well, I had to put the hoops up there. I said that thing was up against the house at one time.
I remember it being up against the house. Thump, thump, thump. Oh, and then we would play a game where we would throw the tennis ball against the house as well and spin around and do stuff. Yeah. So could you imagine the balls just hitting the bricks all the time? You guys didn't care at all.
We didn't mind at that time, I guess.
That's amazing.
I was just glad to have a ball. I said, if we got a ball, it was like what was the other thing? We got a baseball and taping it up, and hitting it all. And it was black because it was all tape all over the thing. And this ball was, you didn't even need gloves because it was just like a mush ball. I mean, overused. And then the bat, like I told you, at one time I just put nails in that thing up and down and around, and that was crazy. I said, I can't.
What did you think about when metal bats came out? Do you think that was cheating? To have an aluminum bat?
No, I was older then, I think. We played softball, and I think it was nice to hear, boing, for the bats before I was, so we never, This one story about Maisie and I were watching this, building a lane on the highway up there, and we were little kids. I was like 6 or 7, Maisie was 5, and she fell on concrete, opened the back of her head, and it's about 200 yards from our place. So we got to grab a hold of her and run her down there, and she's bleeding and everything else.
So were you with Ollie as well as Maisie, or who's helping
Maisie.
You grab Maisie? Just you?
Me and I and Maisie. Our neighbors were Hitches. They're called Hitches, and they had a house right next to ours. So we were always back and forth, and I'd get in trouble. Dick would do my fighting for me. I was the mouth, but he was his fist.
Oh, you were the mouth and he was the fist. I like that.
So then I'd say, "Bring him over here, Dick. Bring him over here." I was gonna hit him. Anyhow, Dick was he was a couple years older than me, so he was. So that was.
Can I ask, was it boys over there at the hitches? You would be taunting the other neighbor
Yeah,
boys?
Speaking about taunting, after this, about 3 years of that, I'm 3, 4, 5 years old, probably not even in school yet, but we used to get up and they're leaving. They're going to New Jersey.
The hitches are moving.
They're moving. So we get up on our porch, right, 20 yards away from them. Goodbye and good riddance. Goodbye and good riddance.
Just
chanting
singing.
from our porch, and how nice we were. Goodbye and good riddance.
Do you remember the address that?
1480, William Penn Highway, 843 William Penn Highway, Carson, Pennsylvania.
All right.
Route 22 comes to go all the way to Pittsburgh too. Okay.
Can I ask what it was like to live on the highway? So basically, you couldn't go too far off your front porch,
Oh, no,
otherwise
we're-
you'd be
we're-
right on the road.
We're 10, 15 feet from the road.
Do you
Four-lane
remember
highway.
telling me the time that you had a ball one time? Everybody knew not to cross the highway,
Yeah,
but one time you were playing ball,
yeah.
and the ball
Goes across
goes
the highway.
towards the highway, and without even thinking, you
Well, I'm going right there, and 4-lane highway, I'm crossing there looking for, and then,
just kind of without knowing, though, right?
and I hear, car come right up my knees and never hit me.
Wow.
Oh, what are you doing around? Oh, I'm sorry, mister. She said, I'm from Pittsburgh.
The lady who was driving the car.
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
And that will stick with you when you almost get hit.
Now, it sticks with me more and more.
So then when we tried to figure out when we were getting married, Dad had no time off. He just started that summer, no vacation times, nothing going on. So we checked it out. There's a long weekend over Thanksgiving.
November, yeah.
We were
Thanksgiving.
married on Thanksgiving Day, and that's the reason that was chosen, was because there would be a long weekend, right?
Get 3 days off, whatever.
At your work, but also you're working, Mom.
Yes, and I was working up till I
She was
worked
working enough that she had accumulated time.
Vacation.
Vacation.
vacation
I wasn't-
time and quit work there because we were moving to Pittsburgh, and I don't know.
Were you able to get all your family members in? Well, Lois said no, she couldn't come.
Well,
Lois
Lois,
was
God
sick,
love
yeah.
Lois, right? She said
She had
that's
just
what,
said Casey, and she's not allowed to travel.
and that she said that's what kept her going, was the idea that she was coming back to that wedding, and I think Jack probably knew they weren't, but Lois was coming because that she kept thinking of that. She said then when the day came, she told us the other night, she said I cried and cried all day.
We lost one bridesmaid and one
Groomsmen.
girl, flower
Oh, the
girl.
flower girl. Norby.
Yeah.
Roby
Norby.
Sue, the flower girl, and Lois.
All right.
So Ann Latner moved up, Ollie moved up,
Lois was supposed to be your maid
and
of
Dick
honor.
Sheridan.
She
Dick
was my
Sheridan's
maid
there.
of honor, and so that's where she was
Oh.
coming. See.
Yeah.
And
So then it
that's-
was Ann Latner.
Yeah.
Leahy.
And then Ollie stepped in, and right.
And then Norby was supposed to be a
And my
girl.
dress, my gown, I went over after rehearsal the night before the wedding, and my gown was still
Pieces.
pieces.
Who was making it?
This friend, she was a seamstress.
Okay, it wasn't Grandma.
Oh no,
Oh,
that was a
okay.
seamstress, and I known her for a long time, and she's
Bird
all the buttons were down the back. None of those were on.
Oh my gosh, she was up all night then.
She stayed up all night, and she was at the wedding the next morning.
Oh my goodness.
Her daughter was in school with us.
Yeah.
Berkeley, you know.
I went to
Yeah,
high
so we
school
was-
with us, so.
So did you have a place to live in Pittsburgh? So you get married?
Not yet, but I was living in this house with Dick Sheridan and everything. But this lady had another house across the street that was available. So
Okay.
that was the room. We had that one
A
room.
big room, one big
Yeah.
room.
Mother had a big room. I'd go to work and she'd do all the writing.
Thank you notes.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So then, that's anyhow. That's all.
I had no idea where I was. No clue at all. I mean,
In
I was
terms
in the
of
middle of
Pittsburgh.
Oakland.
Yeah.
I was up on District Street in Oakland. No car. Didn't know where the heck I was. And
Didn't have a kitchen.
oh no, I don't know what we did
No,
for
we
food.
just went to eat out or something. We had to-
And did you start looking for work, or you got pregnant right away? Then?
Right,
Yeah.
and so by the time by the time the first of the year came around, I was pregnant. I was pregnant, got
Okay.
pregnant on our honeymoon. So I didn't look for work until
So you didn't.
When she
not
got
at all.
busy,
For 12
her
years.
thank you notes and stuff
Not
like
that I
that.
wasn't
Yeah.
busy.
Stuff that she would never have
Yeah.
done
It
before.
just didn't work
probably.
out
Right.
at home. I tell
So
people
she
you
was
worked
there by
in the
herself.
home.
8 hours.
So you're kind of in a Catholic school.
The Catholic school, and the nuns were there, and I said, this one nun was there, and I left my books in the desk, and somebody got in the desk, and when I come back Monday, she said, where's your reader book? I said, I don't know. I said, somebody must have took it. What? I said, someone must have took it. She slapped me across the nose. Blood all over the place. 'Cause I bled easy. So I go home after school, whatever, and Mom, well, I want to go up to the so she called up.
So your mom's all mad that
Yeah.
your nose has
It
been
might have
bloody.
bleeding, and the nun did it. So she's reading out the nun, and it was all my being sassy, so it's
Wow.
hard to,
You might have been sassy, but you maybe not to get hit in the nose for it.
The kids used to come over to our house to even play, the orphanage kids would be older ones, Glenn and Mix and Ray's kids' age usually, but they'd come over and they'd be sitting there playing, and once the phone would ring and the nuns would call her and say, Mrs. Illig, any of our kids over there? Mom would always say, let me look around and see. Of course, that was a signal. The
To
kids
run
would
out the back door.
get out of Mom's sight and hide
Go
somewhere.
around the corner.
I don't see anybody around here, she says. Anyhow, she looked around and never. These kids would come over to the house, that's how smooth and smart she was. The orphanage kids would come over, and my older brothers, not mainly, the kids are 15, 16, so the older ones that were all sitting in the room there, like. And then the phone would ring, and it would be the nuns. Mrs. Illig, any of my kids over there? She said, well, let me take a look around and see. Of course, that was the cue. Everybody took off and hid someplace or went outside. I don't see anybody around here.
Nice.
So I guess it was a lie, but it wasn't. It was a little white lie or something. But that's how she handled it. She said, let me look around and see. Scrub the table, wipe them off. So and then get a couple bucks, and they had 2 or 3 candy bars. This was my brother's, ended up being my Uncle Bill's sister-in-law. So not in the family, but
Married in.
She was, so he married into the Fido family. So she'd be sending barbers, and then she gives a couple candy bars.
Oh, so he owned the tavern, Uncle Bill's.
No, Ed Alice owned it. He was
Okay.
another guy. I don't know if he's a distant relative or not from Dad. I don't know, but Ed Alice ran it then. Okay. But this Friday girl was tending bar there.
Ah.
So she was. Anyhow, we go in, and then on the weekends you do more extensive, but usually half hour before school you go up there and do it and get it ready for the next day and stuff like that. But brought him back down, went to class, and I was a big shot. Go and give people some candy for my work.
Oh, so you'd bring your candy bars to school from your paycheck.
Yeah. Every day I'd say, hey, can I have some candy today? She's upstairs, there's a railing there. Bertha Fried, that's her.
Became your sister-in-law.
Yeah, but Bill's sister-in-law. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, can I get candy? Yeah, go ahead. So I'd take a couple candy bars and off to school I'd go. And boy, those guys loved this candy. I did too. We didn't get much candy at all.
Right. Did you have a favorite? I remember you looking for
Clark
candy.
bars probably what. Go to work, 7 o'clock, never come home. It's 12-hour day again. So every now and then they would stop at a little restaurant. Everybody would eat their lunch there. So the lunch bucket is still there. But Dad's lunch bucket, nothing refrigerated, nothing.
No air conditioning.
It was setting up on the
Hot oil thing.
On the window or something.
window sign, on that little shelf there,
Okay.
all day long, sitting there, jumbo bologna, if you will, or something like that. He comes home with this thing. Hey, it's my turn to get the sandwich. That's kids, 4 or 5 kids. It's my turn. No. Get that sandwich. Now, can you imagine? We argued and fought over getting that sandwich. Laid in the sun for 12
hours.
Oh, man. Fight over that sandwich.
You had fried bologna sandwiches before their time.
No, it was just what.
It didn't kill you, apparently.
Yeah, no, it didn't kill us, but it was.
Yeah, no, made Bill 6'2" or whatever.
yeah. Maybe the.
You didn't get it off.
Yeah, by the time to me, I got a little. I'll never be on making him. No, I never got, but I had a chance with Dick and Ray, maybe.
And the girls.
Did the girls
Yeah.
rush for the sandwiches
Yeah,
or
no.
just the boys?
Bill and them went to the service and everything too, so it was. Oh yeah, what was I gonna say? My dad used to. My mother and that, but my dad, he worked 12 hours a day. In the wintertime was plowing the highways, and he drove the truck and they ashed the road. I don't know if they understand what that was. It was cinders from the railroad.
You throw the ashes.
Yeah, it was ashes piled down around the railroad. They were steam engines. They ran by the coal
Ah,
and the ashes. They took that ashes and put it on the road.
okay.
So, and he was.
So you'd go down to the rail depot, pick those up.
They had an ash pile down there.
So he's got to load his truck first.
Load the truck up. 2 guys are in the back.
Okay.
Load the truck up, then go up the highway.
Is he the driver or the person?
He's a driver. He has
That's nice.
responsibility, but he isn't doing the.
All the physical
He has
work.
2 guys in the back standing on the thing, pushing the ashes out on the road, and a little spinner down below to spread it.
So there's a spinner on the bottom of the truck bed.
Out at the truck bed, and you're up here with your shovels, and you'd push the stuff down in this hole. It would go out and hit the spinner. ash
Spreads it on the road. Nice.
They do that, and then of course it would be a limited amount. It would maybe work for an hour, and then you have to go back and do the same thing all over again. But a lot of time you just slept in the little hut there, which whenever I was growing up and going to St. Francis, I'd work for the, they let me come out and work. But if you're not ashing the roads, they had a little hut there that everybody would sit there and wait,
Down at the train station.
Yeah.
Waiting for the next
Waiting
truck
for
to come in.
and waiting for the snow to come in. Yeah, you're waiting for the snow to come in. And so all the brothers did something like that as their jobs. Like I did it, 4 or 5 times when I was in college. But
Okay, so your dad says to you guys, the brothers.
yeah, one of the guys not showing
When
up.
you say brothers, you mean your brothers.
Yeah, start with Mick. Probably all of them. I don't know for sure. They're 10 years older and 12 years
Right.
older than me. But anyhow, and I know Dick did that. But that's what helped my dad. But it was a sleep. You used to go in the bunk bed and sleep until the roads got bad or something. If it didn't snow at all, you're a free night.
Okay.
Go home. So it was
Wow.
two. Only did that a couple times in college, but it was money. Made some money that night. I don't know how much, but.
But how long did your dad did that for years though?
Oh,
That
your
was
dad
his
did it
job.
for 35 years.
And Dad told me earlier about that.
My dad used to, he's leaving, go to work. This Saturday, church. Yeah, okay. We had to go. Confession every Saturday. And when he come home, after, Monday, rosary, after dinner.
After every
dinner.
supper.
So we go, okay, I gotta say the rosary. Oh, hurry up, he'd be, then take his time eating, Mama. But meantime, about 10 kids would be on our porch. Oh, you ain't coming out yet? Well, I think sometimes they were invited in, but we'd get in, say the rosary, and so that's over. We're, going. It took 10, 15 minutes, but
So every Saturday confession, every meal, every dinner
Every
meal.
dinner.
Said the rosary.
Kind of family rosary after every dinner.
Unless you had a good reason to be someplace else. But we were kidding, you're not going anywhere at that stage.
Right. Well, the kids waiting on the porch for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody, no, come on in now. They'd shy away from saying the rosary with us, but they'd hang on the porch of banners, get 6 or 7 kids out there and then get out and play ball games.
Well, they needed all those illigs to round out the teams, right?
Yeah.
I guess to get them, I don't know.
Grandma, what did Papa McGuire do maybe during some of his... Did you already tell Mariana?
No, I don't know if I did. He was a conductor on a railroad. He was pretty tall, handsome guy, and in his uniform. Greg has a picture of him in his conductor's outfit, and that's where we
We'll have to get
think
that from
Mom rode the train to go from Lily, which is on the main line. That's the thing. If you lived on the main line, you had it made because you could get that train to go. She rode the train to go down to Altoona to go to business school.
So how often did he...
That I don't. Oh, he
or
was.
how long? Not how often,
I
but
don't
did he do
know how-
that for years and years and years?
I don't know when. I don't know how long he did that.
Was he doing it when you were? What was he doing when you were?
He was in sales. He was in sales.
I remember that.
Well,
I
he'd
remember
travel all
having...
over
He
town.
always had
the Geiger.
pencils
Yeah.
and pens that
Yeah.
had different
And to this
promotions.
to this day, you know what? That company that he worked for is still in. They're up in Lewiston, Maine. It's a Geiger company.
Yes, I remember.
You remember that? Frank Geiger Company, and they still put out their little pamphlets of their winter forecast for the winter. But also, I remember he was a salesman of candy. He used to go up and down the main line, and he had his samples in the car. Well, you never got any samples, but I used to there was a little store up the street. And if I knew he was up there, I'd run up there so I could get a candy sample. Because you didn't get them when
You
you were
didn't
home.
get them at the home. You can only get them up at the store.
Yeah.
Well, see, the Moose, he was part of the
I'd
Moose.
travel with
and
him.
he'd go to the
Pat
Moose.
McGuire was.
Yeah, he'd go to the Moose in Evansburg, Moose and...
So Moose is one of those things like society.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Legion, but it's another.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Either
it
the
was.
FW or
Elks.
something.
But they were all his customers. I mean,
Well,
that's
that-
one of them. Then the restaurant people too were, these small, out in the country, 30, 40 miles out there. There's the guy that has one pump in the station, but he has a little garage there that sells stuff. So
Right.
he was...
But that was with a Geiger. That was when he got into a salesman for the advertising. Like he would
That's
give
what
out
Dad's
the
saying.
pens.
Dad's saying.
Yeah. But when he and his brother-in-law Jim Gauntley were into the candy business, and that was
different from Geiger.
different from that,
Oh,
right?
got it.
So there were two different things there, yeah. And I don't know what happened but he'd go down the line to little stores, and I'd ride down to. I didn't know where I was.
So she got to ride in the car and go to candy stores, and you got to sit in the coal
Yeah.
shed waiting
Yeah.
for the ashes.
Yeah, I did that but Dad would go home for lunch, and he'd come in for lunch. We'd walk home, but he'd go down the highway. Hey, I'll take you down. He'd take us down right to. Oh yeah, she just went to 8th grade, and she was. My dad went to 6th grade, so. But he was a big strapping guy. He was out in the plowing the fields on the farm and stuff like that. About 12 years old and that.
So he grew up on a farm?
Farm and Mom too, also.
Oh, really? They both grew up on
Pretty
a farm?
close, and actually.
So what did they think about moving onto the highway there in the summit? That would have been a real change of pace from having...
Yeah, from the farm. Well, they went into Evansburg, which is another little town, and then she worked in the hotel there, and my dad was on the highway driving truck, and they'd stop off. That's how they met up there. So.
Oh,
So
nice.
then they got together.
How many kids did they have?
Six boys and 4 girls.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you guys all went to the school up at the summit, and I remember you saying that I thought Grandma Illig, she'd be kind of interested in what you guys were learning.
Oh yes. She and I go around a lot. She liked to. Well, but let's go over this work, and she just liked it to review, and she liked what was on, what's new or whatever type thing. And so, but never. She went to 8th grade, but she probably could have. She's got a wealth of information and knowledge to herself. She was good. Plays cards good. So my dad would always get mad when, come on, Sue, hurry up and play or something. She'd be thinking.
She'd be thinking through and counting. Maybe she was counting cards.
Yeah, counting something, and then boom, take the trick. I think she did the delay. That was just a tactical thing.
What was the telephone like? Was that something that people would call in a lot, or not very much?
The party line. So
oh my goodness, what's the party?
4 or 5 rings, and 1 ring was for Slattery's, 2 was for Illy, 4 was by Alice's, 5 was for somebody else. So somehow that's what the 4 or 5 people are on this same line.
Oh my goodness, you'd have to sit there and listen to see how many times the phone rang to know whether it was for you.
You let it go, and then you listen to it to make for your ring.
Wow.
And then if you didn't, if you ripped open it up, you go, hey, what are you doing listening to our conversation? It was,
right.
That was crazy. There was stuff like that going on all the time. But that's how it was. But we were very fortunate. A lot of people didn't have this. Is still back in late 30s, I guess. But my dad worked on the highway.
Okay.
In the wintertime particularly, they'd call him up. Hey, the road's slippery up by the ridge, something like that. Get your crew out, and so he had to go down, get the truck out, get the cinders out, and take them out and ash the road in front of our place. So we didn't have salt in those days either.
Right, just ash. So they said, we're going to give you a telephone.
He got a telephone, one of the few, but it was a party line.
Right.
There was 4, he got a phone, but there's 3 or 4 other people involved.
So when you, as a kid, you wouldn't use the phone because...
No, you wouldn't dare use the phone. Even, I'm 18 now, and I'm dating your mother.
Okay.
No, this was back in 1948, 49. No, 51, I guess, 52. So I'm on the phone, and I said, here, I got off phone. Here comes my dad and mom. Hang up.
Because they couldn't get you on the phone.
Yeah, you just couldn't. That.
Mom led the way with education, and so you finished your nursing degree, and Dad's at night school, and then you get married. I don't even know the order of that.
Go back, Butch. Tell us.
You want to tell us about
You
how
finished high school.
Finished high
I
school.
finished high school. My first summer out of high school, I went to Baltimore to Eunice's place and worked in Bethlehem Stills 3 months, working around a pipe furnace like the guy they've had these pipe slabs. It wasn't a pipe, there was this piece of metal on a wheel, but they sent it through the ovens, about 6, 8 ovens in a row. They would bend it over, weld it together, make a pipe, and goes out through the pipe. And I'm out there. They had the pipes come out on this rack, and then they go off and up here in the cooling area. Well, these racks get hot, and the pipes, it's not too good, and they're leaking all the time. So you got to put oil in the lever.
Okay.
So I go out there, and those things was
on the
coming.
hot thing?
Yeah, they're coming at you, and you're sitting there, and then you watch the thing come out of the hot stove or whatever, the oven. And then it's sliced. The pipe is sliced before it comes out, 10 feet long or whatever, and then they come out on the rack. It's a cooling rack, and then it has the levers to be pushing them off like that. Well, these levers wear out, so I did that. So every hour you went in there and watching you, and I go back, sit down a while, and got a break, but. It seemed like only 2 minutes, but another load comes through, and the same thing. My job, that was my first job for U.S. Steel. I went to St. Francis.
That fall. So you made some money, paid for your tuition
Oh,
that
yeah,
fall.
I paid, it was $240, something like that, and I stayed at home.
Mm-hmm.
And from the ride to school, wherever we can, and sometimes we walked it was 3 miles out to Loretta.
And Grandma, you left high school and came right to...
No, I left high school, and then I went
came right to school.
I went, well, not right away, in the fall. I guess I had that summer, and I did all kind of babysitting. I was a babysitter of the town. and getting it maybe at a good price was 50 cents an hour. So anyway, I went in September. We started went in for nursing school, but we started at Mount Aloysius for 6 months, and that's where we did book work.
Okay.
And so we were there. That's Mount Aloysius is in the town of Crescent. We walked to it. There were 3 of us from Crescent that did this. And we walked to school and had our classes and really didn't get to know the class because everybody else was staying there. Most of these girls were from Johnstown and maybe Somerset, little towns around, but we 3 were the exceptions. And then in the next semester, starting in January, we went down to the hospital, and that was my first time away. But there again, there were the 3 of us, so the 3 of us were put in a room together, Ann and Nancy and myself, and we did each one had a gray, blue, and a pink bedspread. Chanel, matched them all together. But that's where we really started our job as into nursing, and then that's when you started nursing arts. You learned how to make the beds, you knew how to miter the corners, you knew how to, put
That was
the
part of
pillows in
nursing
the right-
arts to do
That's
that?
nursing arts.
In arts, they make
That's
it
how
sound
you
like-
learn to make a bed with a patient in it. These are narrow beds, and so you had to turn
Change
them
the
over.
sheets with the, yeah.
Yeah.
So you grab the sheet and go, and they roll over.
Somebody's the
hang
other
on,
side to catch you.
and then you pull them back.
That's what she did to you.
Oh, she said this is how I'm supposed to do it.
Yeah.
She didn't do that, Patty. Yeah. Okay.
Had, kids that went, I don't know. I felt like education-wise,
Well, you guys, yeah, I was amazing for
you
you.
and Mom were an inspiration.
guys.
Were you ever proud of yourselves for?
Well, I always felt good for you. You guys, I took your credit. Say, hey, that's my kid. That's my kid doing that.
I think you shared our credit. You didn't
I'm
take our
sure.
credit.
Oh, and, oh yeah, we stayed more with McGuire's than the Illicks actually. I think Lois and Jack and
Right, but we had a lot of Illigs in the Crescent area.
yeah, we did. Yeah, we went to Crescent. There was a lot. Most, but still we went.
You introduced me to all my cousins. How's that? I felt that was.
Yeah.
I could tell that we were part of a big family, and I don't know if you felt that. You maybe you had just enough of them, or you wished you'd see them more, or you wish you'd see them less.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we was always glad to go to Crescent, but we kept busy just with our grandparents and then a couple, uncles. Like every summer though, we'd have, you had the McGuire reunion, and had the Illick reunion we used to go to, so there was a big gatherings at the.
I just remember them being
Everybody
tons of
used to
fun.
look forward to them. I said, but see, that was McGuire. Well, of course, I didn't see the McGuires until after your mother and I got married. So, but when we were in high school and grade school, we'd go up to Aunt Jenny's farm, and that was a big. I mean, and there was
A big Illig
big
reunion, or was that a Sharp reunion for your mom's side?
No, not Sharps. But you didn't see too much of the Sharps actually. At Mom's side, I can remember going to see Grandma Sharp, and she had a big old brick house, and then a banister upstairs, the second floor. I'm a senior now, big shot, I wore a size 9 shoe. Big year, so I needed a pair of shoes. Couldn't you had to wait till Christmas. So the first month of my senior year, I wore Dick's shoes. Size 10, I'm 9. Running around playing varsity basketball in size 10 shoes. So finally Christmas came along, and I got a pair of 9 shoes. We went to States.
Did it improve? Yeah. How did you do that season?
We went to States.
Oh.
Class B. I was honorable mention on State College. Yeah. Class B school. Honorable mention.
Congratulations.
There's only 5 other people better than me in the state.
Wow.
And 20, I think there's 8 or 9 of us in this list. Slept in bed with 3 or 4 of my sisters. And another thing, I wet the bed, so they moved me out of there pretty quickly. But we only had the kids, one room for the boys and one for the girls. There's 5 boys back there and 4 girls out here, and I'm sitting.
You're the youngest boy.
And I'm the bottom feet of this bed, but I wet the bed, and that didn't last very long. Next thing I got a little bed, about 1.5 feet wide, up against the wall in the girls' bed. I'm still in the girls'
Still in the girls' bedroom, but
I wet the bed for a while, and then I don't know when I was.
could you have been 2, 3? Yeah, you were a little kid.
I was 4, 5, and 6. I was one before I used to go to school and be.
Smell. Or would you get a chance to change your
Well,
clothes?
I get a chance to change, but I said this, it was tough, I guess. It's tough on my mother too, but she was always washing my clothes than everybody else. Oh, what was a bedwetter for. Go with the orphanage kids. It would be Diocese of Altoona and Johnstown. The orphanage kids had a building in the boys and girls school, and we were in the summit up there, and we went to the people up there when like 60 out of the 200 kids in school were from locals, and the others were from all over the United States, Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And
So they're all the orphanage was for the school was for the kids in the orphanage, but then they'd also take the local kids.
It was, our
Could
church
attend.
was right close there and everything. So we have a summit. That's what they call it outside. It's up in the hill on Crescent. And then downtown they had. Your mother was in school downtown. It was 2nd Street down there. So ours is
Okay,
like
so yours is called Summit.
50, yeah, Summit.
And she's at 2nd Street.
Yeah, down in the borough. She was in Crescent Borough, and I was
Yeah,
in
she was in the town.
Crescent Summit, about a mile from her place. Oh yeah, my dad smoked cutty pipe. It's real tough tobacco, so we would take it, steal it, whatever you want to call it, sneak it out of his pocket or whatever, but go up in the tree and he's smoking this thing and fall out of the tree from thinking of cigarettes. But just roll it down, you roll it. Well, the tobacco.
So you'd get some dried.
He mostly chewed it. But it was
Ah.
cutty pipe, and you could make cigarettes out of it or chew it too, But we'd get it rolled. They had paper back then. You roll over and with your tongue and seal
So
it
you
out.
licked it and then
And
it's
somebody
sealed.
have a match somewhere.
Did everybody?
During the wintertime, the trucks would be going real slow up that hill. It wasn't big trailer trucks, but also coal trucks and stuff were heavy, and they'd be going a couple miles an hour, and we used to get in the back and grab a hold of their chain and slide up the hill on there.
Are you just on your feet and they're pulling you?
Yeah,
Or are
just-
you on some kind of a sled?
No,
You're
hold
just-
on your feet in the back of it.
Oh my goodness! And
Up
making them
front
pull
mine.
you up. How do you come back down? Would you just
Well,
run
we'd
back?
about maybe half a mile and just walk back down, or maybe just long enough. I don't know if they ever saw us, but we used to do it. The drive never.
How many people could hitch a ride at a time? One of you at a time on
Well,
the back of a
there's
truck, or
about 2
could you
three
get
could
a couple of
back
you?
across. 2 at least on either side.
Okay.
These trucks are long enough that the guy up front never knew we were there. High school, come home at lunch, 1 mile back home, go back down, go to football practice or baseball practice, walk home. Baseball, we have an extra mile added on, so it'll be 2 miles instead of 1 mile walk. Oh, that was my high school. Yeah, Crescent High School. Yeah, Mickey Latner, AC Long, Jimmy Latner,
Okay.
and one other guy. But anyhow, they stayed there. John Overberger I mentioned too. Yeah. But anyhow, I went back to Cleveland and did that back and forth. Finished up in St. Francis. Okay. And then I went to Duquesne Graduate School.
Wow.
After St. Francis. I graduated with St. Francis. I went to Duquesne Graduate School 1 year. Didn't do too well.
Again, chemistry?
Chemistry too, yeah. I was looking for my bachelor's degree and then a master's, but I didn't get the master's. So come out and I went into service for 6 months. Went down to Fort Knox and stayed down there. And then I was in the reserves for 5.5 years. Every week you go 2 or 3 hours, and then during the summer I had 2 weeks in camp.
Wow.
So did that, finished up on that. Then I went to Pittsburgh, got a job with Calgon. Worked there for 3 years. Then, I got fired from there, and then I went to the federal government down at Ray Hall. He got me a job at the
Department.
Not department, but with the Bureau of Mines.
Bureau of Mines.
Yeah,
Right,
there
Bureau
I
of Mines.
did experimental work and build little furnaces and checked the gas conversion and did stuff like that, and built a couple little my own, like a U.S. Steel blast furnace type thing. We had a lance go down, burn on the steel. We had a melted steel down there, and we just did that type of work for a long time. Yeah.
And just a bunch of experiments, and you'd write the results, and
Yeah.
you write papers. Would you?
I have lots of papers that got into a lot of books and everything.
Really?
I give a
Nice.
couple talks, not a lot, but
Okay.
and every month or so we had to write up stuff we were doing. Okay.
And how long were you there with the Bureau of Mines?
29 years I have on here. First I worked at Calgon, and
Right.
then I went over to Bureau of Mines for 29 years. So,
Wow, that's impressive.
yeah, that was my work experience. Years at Calgon.
Do you remember telling us the joke? He used to tell us something about there would be somebody who would say, "Oh, my dad, he's Superman or something," and somebody else would say, "Oh, well, my dad, he's Batman," and anyhow, you said something like, "Well, my dad, he works for the government and he gets off at 5:00, but he's able to be home by 4:30." Do you remember telling us these jokes about the government worker? Do you remember?
Yeah, they didn't have a very good reputation.
Well, you're just when the workday
That was one
was
of the better
done,
jobs.
you were home,
Yeah.
which was good for us as kids.
Well, as I said,
to be
I
honest.
could take off. Like when your mother was working or something. When I wasn't home at say 3. Or whatever, when you guys got home, I said I would be just take off. Say, hey, like sick leave. I could take sick leave anytime I wanted to.
Well, as a kid, it was awfully nice that you could be in our lives when the day was done. You were done with work.
Yeah. Well, I said then
Home on
later
weekends?
years we made work 4 days a week. We worked
4 10-hour days.
10 hours a day. Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, we used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, take you guys swimming, and I'd just go right on to work. So I was up anyhow, or gonna be up or whatever. So that was one of I was with the Rocks girls, and you and I and the rest would go to 6 o'clock, and then I'd get out to work by 7, and that's the way I did it.
Yeah.
4 days a week, and then the weekends, 3 days weekends, we'd get to go to Crescent, and it was nice too, and it was nice.
We did have a lot of weekends in Crescent.
I'm all out of wisdom.
He's out of wisdom.
So we just get the words.
Thank everybody that participated. I'm glad to see you guys all looking so good. So I feel better now that I've seen all the family again, and that gives me a new boost.
Oh, there you go.
And I'll drink to you in half an hour.
All right. We will too. Cheers. Cheers to you.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Love to all your families.
Happy anniversary.
Everybody, we send out
Bye-bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Duane, I'm going to stay on.
Yep.
Okay.
Across you, Gina.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody.
Thanks for everybody.
Bye, Peggy. Thanks for getting on. Larry.
Jay,
Yeah.
Love you.
lovely,
Bye.
great seeing you.
Stay well.